Well, apparently I've started streaming before I'm even ready. That's about probably going to be the the temperature of this one. I'm not really ready to do long ass live streams, but I will tell you that I saved what I had to say till the end of the night so that I'd be at the same usual time of night that most of my trolls get out. So um, if you just got notified that I've got a live stream and you're one of the people that love to hate on me in my comment section, I did this for you. Um, so there were two town halls. I said I'd watch them. I said I'd give you guys a reaction to them. I'm going to do them both in this one long live stream. We're just going to get it out of the way. And here we go. All right, we're back. Um, Drinking coffee from the giant Murica cup. And we're going to go to first. I'm going to do all of uh, the prepared scenes that I have. I only prepared two, and if I'm going to get dinged for copyright or whatever, it's going to be for these two scenes. If I do get dinged, I don't think I will because I'm going to do them with a lot of commentary. This should be fair use, and it's presidential debates. This should belong to the people, right? But it was uh, the town halls, and it was on two different networks. So I might get a copyright claim on this video just for having a couple seconds that I want to talk about. It could happen. Don't care. I don't make my money this way. Sometimes you guys tip me, sometimes you guys do my Patreon, but even that does not pay the bills. So I'm not beholden to whether or not this video makes money or not. So we get to have fun. And you can see exactly what I'm seeing. So the two the two scenes that I thought stood out to me as something that I wanted to show instead of try to talk about. The first one was a disagreement that I have with Vice President Biden, right? And in it, he's talking about a whole bunch of different things that he would like to see as far as police reform. But there's one thing in particular that I know I have gun nut friends that they will jump on this and they will say, "Oh no, oh no, he didn't just go there," right? So here we're gonna play this scene for you. This is number one on trending. This is the video that I watched. Um, Here's the scene.
Go outside the community to get another prosecutor to come in and handle the crime. There's a lot of things we've learned, and it takes time, but we can do this. You can ban chokeholds, but beyond that, you have to teach people how to de-escalate circumstances. De-escalate. So instead of anybody coming at you, the first thing you do is shoot to kill. You shoot them in the leg. There's ways you have to do more background checks in terms of whether or not the person coming in.
Okay, so banning chokeholds for the police, that's okay. You know, um, psychological background checks, and for me, I would say yearly screening of every cop to see whether they need some therapy. I'm not trying to get cops fired over their psychological profile. I'm just saying maybe some guys need a little bit of a break, put them on the desk for a while. Have a trained psychologist do that. I'm all for those things that Joe Biden is saying, but I've had it instilled in me from childhood, from my father teaching me marksmanship and all sorts of self defense courses over the years, my time in the military. If you point a gun at someone and you shoot, you are shooting to kill them. There's no trying to shoot someone in the leg for a less lethal shot. No, if you don't have to shoot them with a lethal shot, you could use any other means to deter them, right? If you're not shooting to kill, then there's something else you could be doing other than shooting, like de-escalation, like you know, uh, taser, like a whole bunch of other things. If you draw your gun and you pull the trigger, center mast. You are not a trick shot. Here's the thing: in a scary, stressful situation, you are no fucking uh, gumshoe trick shot that's gonna just fucking be a gunslinger, pow, pow, and like their pants fall down because you just shot their belt off. No, that shit does not happen. Okay, you're in a tense situation. You're trying to steady your hand anyway. You cannot make trick shots in those moments. That shit is not doable. Okay, you don't choose to maim someone who's later going to sue you, right? And worse, you could shoot someone in the leg and not stop them, and they're coming at you with a knife, and they could stab you because you didn't shoot center mast. You only shot them in the shoulder or in the leg, and you were purposely like avoiding aiming for their head or their heart. No, no, you fucking shoot center mast every fucking time. Now, if there was no call for shooting someone, fine. We'll discuss that part of it separately. But if there is ever a call for shooting someone, it is a call for shooting them dead. There is never a call to shoot for somebody's leg, for someone's like arm. No, you never fucking maim someone. You know, if you have the wherewithal that you're trying a trick shot, you could try to de-escalate some other fucking way, right? So I disagree with the vice president on this, right? And I'm a really liberal person. I just think a shit ton of police shootings should have been de-escalated some other way, right? But do I think that those shootings should be non-lethal when they are shootings and they are justified shootings? No, no. If it gets to the point where the policeman's life is threatened, shoot center mast. You know, hopefully you don't kill him, but you shoot to stop them. And you don't have a lot of time to line up your trick shots. You know, you don't have a lot of time to say, am I going to hit that femoral artery if I hit the leg there? Should I just blow out the kneecap so he has a limp for the rest of his life, like a pimp limp? No, no. So, but as far as creating new jobs and having psychologists do ride-alongs on certain calls, or maybe be stationed in certain neighborhoods where you get a lot of certain calls, like what just jumped to my head is the neighborhood of one of my old jobs, which was a detox. Yeah, you want to have somebody there who's trained in de-escalation and could just talk them down. You know, maybe have two cops with him just for some muscle. Yeah, but just don't let the cops always escalate it to the point where fists are flying and people are getting to the point of having unnecessary shootings. So, uh, all of the rest of the points in that flurry of what he would do for uh, reorganizing policing, I agree with, except shooting to maim. That's not right, not at all. Give them batons, give them stun guns, give them any like if you're shooting to maim, I would say that's actionable, and they should not have qualified immunity if they shoot and maim someone on purpose. That person should be able to sue that policeman because there was something else they could have done if they could do trick shots. In the chat, we have Poseidon. He says the two town halls are perfect examples of media bias. Biden only got softballs while George S. held his hand. Trump was attacked immediately by the moderator spreading known falsehoods. She was crap. I'm going to say that in more words than what you're saying, Poseidon, but I will get there. I haven't gotten to my full rundown of both debates, but I've got a lot to say, and it's not debates, town halls. It's 2 programs worth of content that I'm reviewing here and giving my reaction to. But I'll say that, yeah, you know, to summarize, I'd say you're correct that Biden had the easier time on his show. All right, so I did line up another clip that I thought was hilarious. This one is from the Trump town hall, and I'm just gonna play a little bit of it. You know what he does to me, you guys. So here it is.
Let's go to our next question. We have Paulette Dale. She leans slightly to Biden. She voted for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as a Republican. Paulette, what's your question?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, you have a great smile.
Thank you.
He does. You're so handsome when you smile. Okay. As the daughter.
Okay. I don't care about the question. But what I'm pointing out there is, my God, that lady was thirsty for some president. Awkward moment, if I ever saw one. Holy shit! In front of a national audience, like Melania, look out! She's coming for your husband, Melania. Melania's probably like, oh, well, he's broke now, so you can have him. Man. Anyways. Oh, you guys know that I took up knitting, right? That this is my first hat. I went a little bit long, and then this one was my third hat. Misty kept the second one. I actually did a good one for the second one. And the second one's like solid this color of red. But I did this one during the Steelers game. They're now 4-0. Just showing off my hats in the middle of my live stream. Okay. I've taken up knitting because I'm all about mindfulness and things that can calm you down. And I'm going to try to get a sack full of hats and just donate them to the detox I used to work at so that homeless people can have hats during a snowstorm. Some of my former colleagues already beat me to it. So they're in hats for a little while right now, but, they run out, because when stuff is free, people keep taking. But where were we? The 2 town halls. Hi, Yukteresnet. You only want to say Orange Man best. Let's see. Poseidon says, when Trump wins again, watch every TV anchor except for Fox News cry like SJWs without participation trophies. In 2016, days before the election, like as close as we are now, all of the different polls were saying like 99% chance that Hillary Clinton wins. It's going to be a landslide. And I don't trust any poll saying that Biden is ahead. I don't trust it. I don't trust. I don't trust. Don't trust. Like, you can tell me anything, but nothing's gonna keep me from voting my mind. You know, voting the way that I want to vote because I think, oh well, everybody else has already got this. No, no, I don't trust that any state is not in play. Like what happened with Hillary losing and having like weeks of polls say that she was going to win in a landslide. Nothing is certain in this world, especially in a post-Trump world. So, let me just get comfy here. Listen to you guys. Sorry, read you guys' comments as I'm talking. So, the first thing I want to say is I tried to find the town halls, and Trump's was very easy to find on YouTube as soon as I was looking, right? I was looking after they both had happened already. I got off work around 7:30 at night, and that's Mountain Standard Time. They had already happened, right? But only Trump's was on YouTube right away. Biden's was not. There were clips of his, and I was looking on YouTube for like the full thing because I don't like commercials, right? Especially network television commercials. So um, I figured that ABC was like just soaking up the replays of Biden's town hall meeting for ad revenue on their own website, right? That could have been it, right? But it also seemed like when I take a view of both of the town halls, there were so many commercial breaks in Biden's that I kind of felt like this was a moment where they maybe could have put a delay on the town hall, and maybe if there was a bad moment, they could have edited it before it went out because it came out in segments with commercials in between. And there were a lot of commercials. So Trump's went a lot smoother as far as the time of uh, the town hall. It was like solidly like 1 hour. Like as soon as it started, it was live and everything, and it didn't look like it could be as linked to manipulation as Biden. So that might have been it too. I don't know, but I couldn't find Biden's video right away. Like I showed you the video that I ended up watching later, but I did join in on ABC's website, not on YouTube, and I watched it there. And you couldn't watch from beginning to end. You had to join like it was actual TV, even though it's on the internet. Fucking hated that. That experience was horrible. And in fact, when I first joined in, it was like, ABC News special report broadcast waiting, because sometimes in their commercials they ran out of commercials, but they were still like giving Biden a break, and it was just like this blue screen, and I was like, is it working? When am I going to get the replay? If it's a replay, why can't I just start from the beginning? You know. And so then I thought, well, maybe if they're forcing everybody to watch it like it's a TV show, maybe it's about ratings, right? And then I wondered, well, if I watch the end portion of one replaying and then the beginning portion of another, am I getting counted twice for the TV ratings? I don't know. I just know that I hate watching TV live unless it's the fucking Steelers game. Okay? I'll put up with those commercials. I don't like live commercials at all. I like to be able to skip shit. Right? I got AdBlock Plus. I have YouTube subscribers, and I'll tell you plainly, like, I don't care for your fucking ad revenue if it's going to put commercials in front of your face that you don't like to see, fucking use ad block, right? I don't care. I do, you know. Hello, Shepard. You said biggest idiot Democrats ever nominated. Oh, Biden Biden. Okay, that's I like that one. Uh, yeah. Poseidon says Trump is great on TV. Don't watch Biden's performance. If operating machinery, he's an instant cure for insomnia. Biden probably didn't know what was happening. I think they both were pretty mentally alert during their performances. As far as energy, though, I would give the edge to Trump after watching the two. Um, but he had uh, Savannah Guthrie riling him up. Like he was obviously emotional in that hour, um, and he was all obviously containing himself. Um, Spurgleberry Farm says local market commercials run those blue screen periods. Yeah, and then on the video that you can watch on YouTube, those blue screen periods are there too. When they put their own commercials into the video online, you still got them there. But Shepard says Trump is annoying. Same shit, different city. He's a broken record. Um, we'll get there. We'll get there. So, I joined Biden's performance halfway through one of the replays on ABC.com. First question I saw was Biden was asked his opinion on Amy Coney Barrett and LGBT rights, and he did not. Once again, he did not give a clear answer on whether he will pack the Supreme Court of the United States when pressed multiple times by George Stephanopoulos. He just did not really answer the question. You know, he's like, well, we'll see what happens with the way that they're going to nominate uh, Barrett if they rush it through. You know, I don't want to say something and then have that be the news because people's eyes should be on, you know, the travesty that's happening, which is still a non-answered dodge in my book. Okay, and that was like the first thing I saw. Um, he said that he didn't watch the nomination hearings because he was stumping, but he heard that she didn't answer questions directly, which was ironic because there's Joe Biden not answering the question directly. He said that LGBT people need to worry, which was a very short part of the answer when the question was about LGBT people, and it looked like it might be coming from somebody who was a member of the alphabet. So I was like, whoa. He just kind of pivoted there really quickly. But what he pivoted to was saying that healthcare is at stake, you know, Affordable Care Act, and all that. So, you know, he had a prepared answer for those kinds of questions, and he went to it instead of speaking to the person that was actually asking the town hall question, you know, and their concern, which was LGBT rights, you know. Um, he said voters will know where I stand before they vote. That was one of the things that he said to Stephanopoulos. But here's the thing: uh, many of us have already voted, so yeah, they might know before November 3rd because you know her confirmation could be on like Halloween, you know, or like the day before the election, right? But most of us have already voted. So, no, we don't get to know what's on your mind, Joe, before we vote because we're voting, you know, with mail ballots that we can drop off days before you announce what you are thinking, that you're saying that we have the right to know. So, back to the comments. Terrence says, uh, all I saw from Biden was the trans kids part. Okay. Apparently, another trans person was murdered today. If you're part of that part of Twitter, um, don't know their name. Names are important, but I'm at a loss right now. Sorry. Poseidon says, "Admit you want to pack the court, Biden, you coward stooge." You know, he says that that's not what he wants to do, but he's basically saying, "I'm leaving all options on the table." But he says that he has, on principle, reasons that he wouldn't want to do that, and yeah, I think that any sort of expansion of the court would have to come from uh, the Congress expanding it to create more slots, and then he'd have to nominate. So it's like, if they expand it, then he has to fill it, and he may not want to do it that way, but this is not just all his decision. In that, he is kind of the leader of the party right now, and if he were elected, you know, he would still be like the leader of the party. But they can also like listen to the people, and their constituents are probably going to be screaming at them, "Hey, we got screwed out of a justice with Merrick Garland, and then they didn't follow their own rules to push through ACB. At least one of those justices should have been ours. So now do something about it, and like, change the rules on, when we're in power, because they changed the rules when they were in power." A lot of their followers are going to say that. Um, Shepard says, "Need to worry, need to be afraid, need to any fucking hope." Um, that's politicians for you these days, huh? Poseidon says, "Ask Biden if he saw his son's cocaine-fueled porn videos. Have you been following the scandal?" Wow, no, I did not know that there was porn. You know, I was shocked when George Floyd's porns came out. After he was dead. It's a little awkward to watch someone's porn after they're dead, but yeah, I haven't heard about Biden's son having cocaine fueled porn videos. I'm assuming that there wasn't the cocaine being used in the porn video, but maybe it's the way you wrote it. Um, you know, I'm weak. I'll look. After this video, I'll go look. Shepard says, "I voted by absentee ballot, but my ballot envelope did not display my party I'm registered to." Does it have to? In Florida? Um, I know in primaries in some states you don't get to vote for the other party's candidates. It's not an open primary, so you only get the ballot with your party on it. But like during a general election, you should get the same ballot that everybody else gets. Um, so, anyways, Biden got the question of like, how are you going to work across the aisle? And he said, "Well, I don't hold grudges." And he gave a good answer on not using the Justice Department for grudges. Like, Trump is using the Justice Department as his own lawyers, and it was good answer for me. But then we had commercials. God damn it, I hate commercials. I hate me some commercials. If you learn anything from me in this whole broadcast, live from me, it's that I hate commercials. So then, when we came back from the commercials, Biden was asked about fracking in Pennsylvania, um, which is weird because there's a huge wing of the party, the more left wing of the party, that does not want fracking in America. Um, I feel like I'm in a place where I can say this to you guys, and it won't be something that I could ever get hurt with as far as doxing or anything. But in a former life, I was an electronics calibration technician, and I did have some interviews with companies like Halliburton and Schlumberger for the purpose of fracking technology. Now, my job in that I was trying to get, I never got those jobs, was the wireline instrumentation that would go down in the hole and see if there's any cracks. It's not the actual drilling, right? But I did interview for those sorts of jobs. I did fly out to Oklahoma once for an interview and got put up in a hotel and still didn't get the job. Probably because I have a lot of activist friends and they could probably look and see on my Facebook friends that there are people that are flagged to them because they spend a lot of money on researching people. Um, I'm not in a bad place in life right now, so I'm not unhappy that I didn't get those jobs back in the day. But I understand, like Biden, that there is technology involved with fracking that is supposed to keep it safe. Just like you hear a lot about fracking, but not so much about like just straight oil drilling like they had in Texas, before a lot of those oil wells just went dry until they stimulated them with fracking and they started producing again. But you hear about fracking instead of just like carbon. Carbon based fuels are the problem, not like the evil word fracking that sounds like fucking, or like Battlestar Galactica saying fucking, right? Um, Fracking not done well can cause little earthquakes. It can poison the water, can poison the soil. You know, there can be oil spills. Carbon in general. Um, Refineries have a lot of cancer clusters around them. Um, Global warming caused by burning fossil fuels, methane leaks at fracking pads. Something that I actually want to film with thermal imaging cameras so that people can see that the methane leaks are spraying over their houses because in some cities in Colorado, in Weld County especially, there's no limits as far as how close to a fracking pad people can live. So people are living right next to these things spraying out onto them, and they don't realize just how much gas they're getting uh, in contact with. So there's all sorts of problems with it, but I know that when the technology is used right, all that shit's not supposed to happen. You know, the Exxon Valdez tanker that run aground and leaked all that oil. The tanker was supposed to deliver the oil, not create an oil spill. The which one was it? The fucking oil spill in the Gulf, the Deepwater Horizon, oil spill. That shouldn't have happened. It was an accident, right? But these accidents happen. They cause bad things. But it should have been just regular burning carbon, which is bad in its own right, but not the whole bad that people are associating fracking with. You know, um, it's really become demonized to the progressive side of the party. Biden has a different view of it, right? But the problem is when he says his view of it, he's alienating all of those Bernie bros who want to ban fracking. So Um, Poseidon in my chat says that Biden had an easy time with his town hall. No, when Stephanopoulos brought up you know fracking by calling on that person who had that fracking question, no, that's creating division in the party. That's not good, right? Trump has to be demonized so much more to get these Bernie bros to vote for Biden. You know that they're he has to be demonized way so much more that they're willing to vote for somebody who's not going to end fracking because there is nobody on the ticket now that is willing to end fracking except for maybe Howie Hawkins, who isn't even running in every state with the Green Party. He can't get on the ballot in every state because COVID, because he couldn't get people to, stand around and sign petitions and and hold these petitions for people to sign because social distancing. It's really hard to do like logistics in a pandemic. You know, the system wasn't set up for this, so we really do have it like down to like two candidates this year. It fucking sucks. There is no third party resistance vote that would have a chance at winning all 50 states because nobody else got on the ballot in all 50 except for Trump and Biden. Anyways, back to what he said. He said bring in renewable energy, cap all the open oil wells, which for whatever good that does, it's going to keep methane leaks from happening on them. He said by 2035 we'll have net zero emission of carbon by the production of energy, which means getting rid of coal burning power plants and maybe making them clean coal by like capturing and sequestering carbon dioxide in a way that's like way better than what we have now. It's a lofty goal, and if he were to win the presidency, uh, his presidency would end before that 2035, and he could just blame it on other people not following up if his promise didn't come to fruition there, because he's promising things like in 2035. That's 15 years from now. I doubt he'll be alive. Um, he said that the president thinks renewable energy is a joke, and I think it's jobs. And in that moment, I was like, well, that's catchy. President thinks it's a joke. I think it's jobs. I was like, that's good. That's good. But then he said he started talking about weatherizing buildings, which does make a difference. And Obama tried that, and it just didn't get done uh, as a priority, where everyone was educated on how weatherizing buildings reduces how much you have to pay to heat them and cool them. But then he says that we're not doing any other deal. We're doing his deal, not the new Green Deal. Now, it's the Green New Deal, but he kept saying the new Green Deal. Now, I know he has a stutter, but getting those words mixed up, like the order, was not a good look. It wasn't. And so it's like right after he said he thinks it's a joke, but and I think it's jobs, which was a good thing. He had a flub. So it's like that whole topic is kind of marred by him not going all in on banning fracking as far as keeping up his base or the extremists in his party. Um, what it's doing is it's trying to reach across the aisle and saying, hey, you guys who don't want to vote for Trump but you're Republicans and you kind of want somebody else to represent your party, you can still vote for me and it'll be safe as far as fracking jobs if you're one of those people who works in that industry. So, um, at least he was right about planting in Brazil to control carbon in the atmosphere. That is the biggest carbon sink, would be to plant more trees in the Amazon, and then doing more research. That's also good. Good stuff. Then we had a commercial. We had another fucking commercial. I hate commercials. But every time they did a commercial, they put a note in my notes for the commercial, which tells me read the chat. So where did we leave off? Terrence Hypno Nipple is here. It's always weird to say his name. He said that would be weird if Biden's son and George Floyd were in the same porno. You guys come with the jokes. Oh my god. Biden's son's rent is due. I thought it was great in Biden's appearance at the debate, the first debate, when Biden took the moment to say that he loves his son and that he's proud of him and that he had a cocaine habit and he's in, recovery for that and he's proud of him for that. And I was like, wow, that's a really good message for people in my field in counseling and addiction counseling. So I thought that was a great moment in that first debate, where he took a moment to defend his own son. That was just, brilliant, in my opinion. Shepard says, I voted for Trump again. Okay. But I have to be honest, all this shit, including him never ending his yakking and bragging, glad it's only 4 more years. Let's get a dwarf after Trump. Like a Republican dwarf? You think dwarfs don't have big voices? They have to be, like, heard and seen. Why a dwarf? Can't we just have a big, quiet person? I want to think that that's some sort of racist. That you're racist against big people. Anyways, he says fracking. One fracking company in Colorado did change the thickening agents to the kind used in food. One in the spokespersons for the company drank a cup of fracking fluid. What I do know about fracking fluid from my short time interviewing for jobs is that sometimes the fracking fluid is just soap. It's like 95% water and then 5% soap, detergents, right? Now, when it goes down, that's the makeup of it. When it comes back up, it has now hydrocracked some of the hydrocarbons into other things like the detox chemicals that cause cancer, right, are in the fracking fluid when it comes back up from going down to these, the bottom of these oil wells with soapy water. The soap itself starts breaking down the oil a little bit, and then you get chemicals. Also, I know from experience, there's a lot of radioactivity that comes up with oil. And this is pretty much anywhere, but especially in Colorado. So if you were to take a Geiger counter and put it up next to any fracking pad, you're going to get it going off far more than background radiation. You could watch Thunderfoot's videos when he visited Colorado and he just went off the highway a couple feet and set his radiation detection equipment right next to just some rocks, right? There's rocks in the ground too. The stuff that comes up with the oil is often contaminated with radiation. So the stuff that comes up is not the same stuff that goes down. But if somebody drank some fracking fluid that was ready to go down, it's still not good stuff for you. Shepard says still nobody complains about pollution credits. Um, I don't even understand pollution credits, to be honest. Like, you did good, so you can sell the right for somebody else to do bad. I don't know. Sounds like absolution to me. Um, Poseidon says, I think most progressives hate the DNC as much as Trump. Yeah, there is a certain club of them. Kyle Kalinske being chief uh, Democrat who hates Democrats in chief. Yeah. Shepard, you retracted a message on me. Um, Poseidon says twice in 2016 and 2020, various state mafias rigged the primaries against them. I don't blame them for being pissed off. That's how I feel. And it's not just in the Democratic Party. I watched it happening to Ron Paul as well. Ron Paul and Bernie Sanders have that same problem that they are, representing a part of the party that maybe is a little bit better than the rest, and the centrist part of each party's it seems to work in collusion with each other, but also seems to try to like push the fringes aside. Like they'll try to bring them in during one part of the political cycle, and keep them in the fold just long enough to do the bait and switch and give you the centrist candidate. Um, Shepard says we need a dwarf POTUS and helium ingested Congress. Are you high? You know I'm an addiction counselor, right? Shepard said elements for what would be in a fallout. Poseidon wants to know, has Nick Bravo ever come out of hibernation yet, or is he still afraid to upload videos? Hold on. Let me see. I'm going across platforms to see this. Okay. I did a video about the smoke from the Cameron Peak fire, and he commented on it, and I can go to his account from that, and looks like he has not done anything in 1 month and 10 days. But he did comment on one of my videos. Yeah, but it's been since September 6th. Okay, I've gotten to the end of your comments. So, 10-second break. I don't have any other videos for taking breaks, so it's kind of like a commercial in that I'm just like forcing you guys to watch something while I, try to blow my nose off camera because I don't like people seeing me blow my nose. Just like some people don't like to be seen eating. It's just about common courtesy. You guys don't have to see me wipe my nose. Well, we got smoke from wildfires, so my sinuses sometimes, Anyways, after that commercial for Biden, there's a question from the crowd that was, does Trump's foreign policy deserve some credit? And then Biden said, well, a little, like peace in the Middle East. But then he gave this list of everything that Trump has done wrong. And then he says, our president gets laughed at on the public stage. And then he's like, he's best friends with dictators, standard stuff, really. That is, he got questioned, how will you, as a president, reverse discrimination against transgendered people? And I think that's what Terrence watched. Um, and basically, Biden said he's going to overturn every executive order that would hurt trans people. And then he gave like a good sappy story about his son Bo, who was a DA who helped with some laws in some state for a trans person who was working for him. And it was, one of those good stories when you have like the politician says the name of a person and then like the city, and you just get all these like cheap pops, kind of like when professional wrestlers name the city that they're in, and everybody cheers for, oh my goodness, he said our city, um, yeah, it was a good political moment, but it was followed by another commercial. Let's check the chat. um, Poseidon said he's detoxing. Shepard says, neither do I. It's like taking a piss. Gotta have privacy. Okay. Poseidon says, love that 1950s synthesizer background music. 1980s. I don't hear any music. Wait. Maybe it was from the the videos that I was trying to get at to see that date for you. Sorry. I'm a little slow on the uptake right now. I'm thinking politics. So, another question to Biden when they came back from commercials was, he said that he started running because of what Trump did with Charlottesville, and saying that, oh, there was good people on both sides, right? Um, the question was, if you lose, how will you use your platform to sway the president towards racial justice? And in this answer, I was very happy that he didn't say something like Trump, where Trump says, well, I don't plan to lose. Trump's done this a few times when he's asked questions like this. But Biden's answer was, well, I'm just going to go back to being a professor and keep arguing for justice. And what it didn't strike me while I was watching that, but what really got me there today, when I was thinking about that moment later, like 24 hours later, uh, it got me thinking about in the first debate where Trump looked at Biden and said, "Don't you ever talk to me about the word smart. You had horrible grades when you went to school. Don't you ever say anything about the word smart." And so the fact that Biden is a professor at some universities now, probably not so much on the merit of his skill as a professor, but his position, and it's nice to take a class with a historic figure who used to be the vice president, right? There's lots of people who have sort of positions where they teach class just because it's attractive to have celebrities from history teaching classes at certain universities, um, but just the fact that he's a professor of something, it's proof that he is smart at something. Um, and then there was another commercial. Are you guys seeing a pattern here? Commercial, commercial, commercial. I'm not used to commercials. I note every one that happens. Shepard says there was groovy PBS music. I didn't watch it on PBS. Watched it on ABC. Poseidon wants me to convert to veganism. That's always the politically correct answer to every human problem. I'm almost there. What did I eat today that wasn't vegan? Penang chicken. Uh, I had some crab and a crab cheese wonton. Just one. because I had one of Misty's. And then there was a little bit of pepperoni on some uh, leftover pizza that I reheated for breakfast. So that's that's 3 times I wasn't vegan today. Um, I think there's maybe some dairy products in my creamer for my coffee. That's not vegan. It's probably tested on animals too. Uh, Shepard said his tenure is coffee lounge loitering. That's weird because if you were the vice president, you don't need tenure. What is tenure? You could once you start working, you have a job when you want to work. If you're that famous. Um, Spurgleberry Farm says I couldn't find a rate my professor page on Joe Biden. Only Jill Biden. I wonder if he actually teaches anything rather than just use his name to sell tuition for classes. Um, Maybe he's an honorary professor who visits classes but doesn't do any of the grading. Maybe he just shows up to a few of the classes, answers questions, and gets his honorary professorship and never has to grade a paper. Um, Shepard says, alien invasion, world ending, eat soy? um, Poseidon says, don't do it anything unless it's still moving. Eat, I meant. LOL. I'm typing like I'm high. Veganism solves all our problems, right? LOL. Uh, Back to the recap of the shows. So there was a question: if you lose, what does that say? And Biden says, well, hopefully it means that I'm a lousy candidate and not that the country is as divided as Trump thinks it is. If it's not divided that way where he can win based on, preaching to hate. That's what he was trying to say. But really, I think if Trump were answering the same question, he might say fake news, ballots were rigged, stuff like that. So, um, it was an interesting uh, contrast to what I think Trump would have said. Uh, Next question, Biden was asked. Trump was asked if he took a test the night before the last debate. Do you think the next debate will happen? And Joe kind of dodged the answer. He said, I will abide by the debate commission rules. Trump pulled out of the second debate. I don't think the third location will allow Trump to skirt the rules the way he has before. And I plan to be there for the third one, which means, if Trump pulls out of the third one because they want to do like video conference stuff still, then it'll be just 2 more town halls. Um, so then the town hall was over, right? There was commentary from the ABC people, and there was video of Biden talking to people in the crowd, but you couldn't really hear what Biden was saying. Like you could kind of, but the commentary talking over him was like too much. But it was like officially over. But Biden stuck around to answer questions from everybody who didn't get to be on TV. And then he was walking around with his mask on because, of course, you got to make a showing of that, right? Um, which is good. Tell people wear mask. Uh, then like they cut away. It was just like talking heads. So um, I decided, okay, maybe if I wait a while, I'll be able to see the beginning. But then the beginning didn't start. It was like still more talking heads, and I was like, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch the beginning of the debate. When are we going to see the rebroadcast? I tried to refresh to see if like I could get out of that extra stuff that they wanted to fit in on the end. Couldn't. Um, but then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch the Trump uh, town hall and then look for Joe Biden's after that. I go back to YouTube, refresh on town hall uh, stuff today, and there it is. There's the video that I was looking for earlier, the ABC News video. You know, where they just didn't post it right away because they wanted people to go to abc.com. They were kind of funneling people over to watch commercials. So I decided I'll put off Trump's and just watch the beginning that I missed from when I tried to jump into it on abc.com, and then I'll have watched the whole Biden thing, then watch Trump. In the chat, we've got Shepard says veganism solves all our problems, right? LOL. I wish I could go more vegan. Really, I wish. It's just the food options in a lot of places that I eat will always have at least a little bit of meat in them. Um, I could go vegan if like the whole fridge was stocked with just vegan food, and everywhere I went to eat all vegan food. It wouldn't be a problem for me. The longest I've gone vegan that I remember was 8 days, and I felt some good health effects from it. But it's not a priority for me because it's not like the ethical reason of like killing animals and stuff. I think that we are animals, human beings. We're social animals, but I look at our gut and what we're meant to eat with our physiology, and I just don't want to give up meat on ethical grounds because like I buy dried chews for my dogs that are made of animal products because like if you forced your dog to be vegan, you suck. Okay? You just suck as a dog owner. So, I feed them meat because I know that they're supposed to eat things that are made out of animals because they're dogs, right? Similarly with humans, you just look at our physiology, look at our gut, look at the pointy incisor teeth. We're supposed to have a little bit of protein in our diet from animals. Maybe even like bugs and worms. I'm not, the best at eating a lot of bugs and worms, but you know what I'm saying. Um, yeah, and somehow this is now a political thing because I'm talking about politics and you guys are talking about veganism. Poseidon says Steve Scully got fired because of the second debate. LOL, great story. No, he didn't. He was suspended, and CNN posted their press release about it. Maybe something happened after what I saw, but the press release I saw said that he was suspended and that they think that he can still continue to do good work for them. But yeah, it was ridiculous. Oh, I got hacked. I didn't mean to. I didn't tweet that out. That's as cliche as my dog ate my homework. Um, Spurgleberry Farm says Biden looked tired and scattered in his therapy session. Okay. Um, Biden's town halls are pep rallies for his wandering brain. um, Spurgleberry Farm says the ABC News video was live streamed, so it shouldn't have been edited it shows as live streamed. Now, here's the thing with live streamed. Um, what you guys are seeing of me right now is pretty live, right? I would say maybe with a 10-second delay. I can see the feed that is live on YouTube. I can see the feed that is live on YouTube Studio, and I can see me on my OBS system, right? So I'm going to put my hand up with all 5 fingers out, right? Just as a symbol. And then I'm going to tell you when you guys are seeing my hand. Okay? Here we go. Right now. So that's how much delay is in the feed here. Now, if they started like 30 minutes early as far as their delay, and then they start broadcasting, and then they leave themselves a little bit of leeway, and they put in a whole bunch of commercials, they can edit out things that are just not good moments, right? It'd be a lot harder to do with the way that Trump has had his set up, but with the way that Biden's was set up, I do believe that they probably shaved off a few moments in between these questions. It looks like a no-brainer that they were trying their hardest to make him look like a good candidate. You know, Poseidon in the chat agrees with me that like he had more of a softball sort of experience. So, uh, back to my notes on all this. So, the question that was first posed to Biden at the beginning of the broadcast was there was no coordinated federal effort on COVID 19. What would following the science have meant in policymaking? And what would you do differently than Trump is doing right now? So Biden said, Trump pulled pandemic scientists out of China, scientists that he and Obama put there for a reason, and it is the exact reason that actually happened. So that was a really good point. Uh, Biden said that Trump publicly denied the seriousness of the pandemic, and he's alleging that he would not have in his position, which we don't know, but we could take his word for it. But I don't know that any president might not have done what was done as far as lying to the public about the efficacy of masks so that they could buy up a whole bunch to put in hospitals. It looked like a very coordinated effort between a lot of different governmental agencies, and for the CDC to lie to the American people, which I consider to be unforgivable. There was a lot of coordination. They were willing to tell that lie, and Trump wanted to tell that lie, and so the two liars coming together was a very bad thing for our country. Anyways, back to what Biden said. He said Trump missed enormous opportunities and kept making predictions that weren't true, and that's true. There's a Lincoln Project video that says, here's what Trump said on this day, this day, this day, this day. And when there was like 15 cases known, Trump was like, it's 15 now, soon it'll be 0. And March, April, and May of 2020 showed a lot of different Trumps as far as what he thought on the coronavirus and how soon we would be done with it. Then Stephanopoulos got clarification from Biden on the timeline of when he suggested to Trump that he needed to do some things. And Biden said that Trump was more worried about the stock market than he was the American people. Biden said big businesses get most of the stimulus money, and he would have changed that. He said that Trump let unemployment extensions lapse. And for me, that's like, part of that's Trump, but part of that's also Congress gridlocked. You know, I, the buck stops with the big guy, but uh, I blame part of that on Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi. Um, not being able to come to an agreement because they are more worried about which party looks like it's left holding the bag as far as who caused your misery, and which party gets the praise for being the savior of the people. They're more worried about that than actually saving the people who need the stimulus money. So Biden said, I don't remember him once telling the House and Senate to sit down together. I actually put this out on my Facebook where Trump actually said exactly that. Now, 3 days later, he said, okay, well, negotiations are over. And he said this all in like the last 3 weeks. He was tweeting out, you all need to sit down and come, work on something. Everybody needs to get together right now. And then like 3 days later, it's like, negotiations over. You guys are arguing. You're negotiating in bad faith. So he did, in fact, for 3 days, have the position of everybody needs to work together. So I'll give Trump that. Now, he did flip on that pretty quickly, but for Biden to not remember him once saying it, Trump's been on both sides of a lot of different issues. Just because he did say it once doesn't mean that he really meant it. But to say that you don't remember him once saying it, it's his Twitter is kind of like the public record of what his thoughts are in the moment, and it's easy to find. Then Biden said that he could contain the virus if it was done sensibly, and then he laid out this plan for what all sorts of like businesses and schools would need to reopen safely. And it was a long ramble, but it made sense. I'm not sure that that isn't what Republicans would want to do. I think it's just that all the gridlock between the two parties kind of keeps shit from happening. Get a drink of coffee. Shepard says that there's a 15 to 20-second delay on my show. Poseidon wants to know if vegan women are allowed to swallow and stay pure vegan. I vote no. How's that? Poseidon says if Biden collapsed, would they show it or turn away the cameras? The broadcast might turn away the cameras, but they might keep other cameras on it. The broadcast might cut away to something else. So I think there would still be footage that existed of it. Definitely. Plus, they couldn't keep everyone in the crowd from like whipping out their cell phones in a moment like that. Spurgleberry Farm says, listen to the video again. It sounds like Biden's audio was louder than the moderator to make him sound stronger. I hadn't realized that, but it might just be the tone of George Stephanopoulos. Poseidon says, probably was. The whole thing was rigged. If they treated Biden like Trump, he'd blow his fuse and tell the moderator in the audience to vote for Trump like he has many odd times before. He actually almost said something similar when he was, talking about uh, the transfer of power. Shepard says, I want to throw a bucket of water on Pelosi just to see if she'll melt. Poseidon says, now we know Biden was directly involved in promoting his son's Ukraine scam. He has zero credibility. The whole Biden family is totally corrupt. I'll go ahead and say that that's a wash if it's true, because we know that the Trump family is corrupt. You know, I'm not going to get into what all the records of Trump's tax returns that have come out have said, but the most interesting to me was Ivanka Trump getting paid money as a consultant when she was actually an employee of the same company that she was supposedly being a consultant for. And it was basically just ways for Trump to siphon money out of his deals to his kids and avoid taxes on it. So, yeah, if you look at like all the deals that these consulting fees went into the deal, it's nothing but grift, really. Um, but yeah, I don't know all the facts with the Biden Ukraine scandal, as it were, and uh, that one prosecutor who apparently lost his job because Biden pulled some strings and called some people. But there are a couple of other things about Biden that lead me to think that yeah, there's some people only uh, paying that much to his son, as far as his son having a job in certain companies, so that they'll have influence later. And that's a weird sort of end around, as far as like they can't bribe the guy directly, the vice president directly, but they can give his son a job because his son is not him. So they can pay the son like large sums of money that he doesn't deserve. Give him just like a swivel chair to like spin around in. Tell him that he's on a board, and then poof, the money is pushed from one family to another. But because we look at people as individuals and not their entire family, then it's kind of swept under the rug. So yeah, if we're talking about Trump's corruption, I'll hold Trump to the fire for that, but I will concede that that swamp that Trump said he was going to drain, he's a part of himself, and so is Biden. And Hillary Clinton had the same problem too. Um, Spurgleberry Farm says nasty Pelosi will just crawl into her $12,000 freezer to prevent melting. Okay. Shepard says, I heard a rumor that Pelosi complained that Trump wants U.S. citizens outside of the country to vote, but doesn't she want illegal immigrants to vote? I don't know where you're getting your news. Poseidon says, this will be another 3-hour live stream. You know, it might be. I started at what, like 10 o'clock? We're now at an hour and 20 minutes, and I haven't gotten through with the first town hall. So it could be. Dynacat, welcome to our chat. Pelosi's opponent this year is damn good. Wish he had I shot at it. Okay. You know, um, there are Republicans that I wish had won the nomination instead of Trump, too. Some of them I thought, uh, you know, I might be politically not a part of that party at all, but, you know, it was particularly the candidates that had a lot to say about Trump that I was like warming up to. Like, hey, that guy's making sense. That was before Trump even won. Um, Poseidon says Trump's taxes were perfectly legal. Even the New York Times admits that in their stories. Well, he's still getting audited for a reason. It's probably going to take some legal interpretations to decide whether or not Trump owes a whole bunch of millions of dollars back. Um, Shepard said, that's why I said rumor, so sick of convoluted news stories and clickbait titles. Yeah, that's the world we live in now. Dinah says, Pelosi is running against another Democrat. California rules. All right. Back to my coverage of the town hall. Biden was asked if he would take the vaccine and would he force people to take it via mandate. He said he'll take it. He said the mandates will depend on the nature of the vaccine, how well it works, and if it needs to be mandated to be able to work. He said you can't mandate a vaccine any better than you can the measles vaccine, which a lot of people don't take. You know, he can put it out there to where like you can't work certain jobs without taking the vaccine. But you can say you can't come to school at this school if you don't have the vaccine. But other than that, um, you can't really mandate a vaccine that well in the U.S. Uh, he said masks, masks, masks. He will mandate masks, and he talked about how we could save X amount of lives if Trump would just say masks, masks, masks. We're all mandated to wear masks in public. And when he was answering that question, he sounded super alert in that moment. I'll just say. Um, he said, what are you going to do with taxes? And he said he's just going to repeal the tax cuts for the top 2% of earners, people who earn more than $400,000 a year, which I've never done personally. He said he would raise the corporate tax. And then Stephanopoulos said, well, is it wise to raise taxes during a recession? And Biden said, Moody's, which is an organization that is historically not in Democrats' favor, they said that his plan would make more jobs than Trump's. And I know that they keep on quoting Moody's because it's the opposition's place to get news. You know, it's like it's a Republican think tank ish thing. So that's why he's quoting Moody's, and he has in a lot of different stump speeches. When people have jobs, everything moves, he says. Okay. He said that this is the argument between a V-shaped recovery and a K-shaped economy. He said that Trump's trade policy sends jobs overseas. If he said that in Trump's presence, Trump would have brought up NAFTA and the U.S. Canada-Mexico agreement. But then there was a commercial in the YouTube video. And I'm going to go to commercial so that I can blow my nose. All right. So, Poseidon says California's one-party bankrupt basket case. He says all of America will look like Cali if Biden and Harris wins. Actually, there's a lot of Texans who are afraid that Californians who are moving in are turning Texas into California. They're following their Joe Rogan lead. It's weird. A lot of the YouTubers that I watch moved out to California, and then some of them that I watch have moved away from California. Grant Stefan, he's another one. He's moving to Texas, and he owns properties in California that he's probably going to have to get rid of. So, Spurgleberry Farm says he tell states to mandate them, and if the states refuse, tell mayors to mandate them. Yeah, that's what he was saying. Like he would go down the chain of command and pressure everyone to put out mask mandates. Shepard says masks will not protect against particles, only droplets. True, but the virus travels in the droplets primarily. It's just, it's been researched how much less transmission we have with the masks on. It's not perfect. You know, if you're working right next to somebody all day, every day, and you're not social distance from them, and they have it, you can still get it from them. Just for, you know, all the different chances that you're taking with being around people. It's not perfect. It just reduces chances. Spurgleberry Farm wants to know if it was the Moody who rated mortgage default swaps as AAA credit. Yes! Yes, that one. So it makes it really weird when progressives are, you know, trying to hold their nose and vote for Biden. Dinah says the particles come from droplets. They prevent the droplets from getting into the air where they evaporate and distribute particles. Great way to explain it. Apparently cannot go an hour and 27 minutes without having some of my throat dry up. But part of it is the fire that is going on around Fort Collins and blowing smoke all over Denver. And the wind shifted right before the sun went down, so I can't even see how much smoke is out there. But I'm looking at the redness in my eyes. I'm like, it's probably from smoke particulates getting in the house. Air quality index was like 50 earlier today. Let me see what the AQI is right now. What the fuck? $25? It's saying it's impossible because there's so much smoke in the air. Maybe this website is just like got old data, but okay, it's actually 63 right now, so it's getting a little bit. It's moderate particles, but in Fort Collins it's 105 AQI. Um, yeah. Anyways, Got That Funk is going to have a harder time than me. Poseidon wants to know, do I still dream of Mountain Dew? No, not at all. Um, it's been since 2016. You know, 4 years later, no. I have had probably 3 Sprites this week from eating out, from going through drive-thrus. But that's nothing compared to like the 6 to 8 Mountain Dew cans I drank every day for years. Shepard still thinks that the coronavirus is bullshit. Who really knows if anyone has actually gotten the strain from China? There's a certain percentage of people out there that are just going to believe that it is bullshit, and also they're going to believe that if Biden wins, that it's just going to go away. That all of this mandated stuff was only to affect people's comfortability, so that Trump would lose. They're probably going to make the argument that they were trying to hurt the economy so that Trump wouldn't have the economy as his glowing accomplishment, right? Here's the thing. If Biden wins, it's not just going to go away. It's real. It's real. So those people are going to have to come to terms with, oh, now it's Biden's turn, and he's not just flipping a switch and saying, oh, everybody can come out of the woodwork now and admit that it was fake. That's not going to happen. Dinah says, funny how Trump always talks about burning cities when no cities are burning, but never talks about burning forests. He did a little. He said that people need to have clean up the floor of the forests. That's something that he said in the debates. But also, he's actually argued with California about whether or not he was going to send funding for, emergency funds for their wildfires. So, yeah, there nothing that he says about forest fires is good for his image. Poseidon says weed smoke is huge in Denver. I wonder if it's affecting your health. Nothing like these forest fires. Shepard says, hell, come January, it'll be some new bullshit to stunt Trump. If Trump's still in office, I have no doubt that there will be new bullshit, because Trump's not the only one who's got an election come November 3rd. Trump could be facing a whole lame duck 4 years, because him being in office could be what creates a groundswell of support for Democratic candidates up and down the ballot. So, yeah, they're probably going to be very obstructionist with him. Spurgleberry Farm says, how much are you willing to put down on a bet that the lockdowns will suddenly not be needed anymore after the election? If Biden wins, there will still be mandates. In fact, if we're talking about just the election and not like inauguration, I believe that there's going to be more mandates in each state as things get colder and there's more transmission rates going up. Because I do believe that the coronavirus is real. However, my real fear is that the artificial inflation of the economy via stimulus packages, and by the economy I just mean the stock market and the housing market, those two things, I think that they're probably going to have horrible crashes no matter who wins, because if Biden wins, he'll have no reason to continue the sort of fake artificial inflation of the stock market and the housing market that Trump did, right? He'll just let the chips fall where they may. If Trump wins, he'll have no more reason to continue doing what he's doing because he will have already won re-election. And if it all crashes, it's already crashed once in 2020. If it crashes again at the end of 2020, he can just write off this whole year and say, well, I had 7 out of my 8 years were good. So no matter who wins, I'm more worried about the housing market. To the point of, you said, how much am I willing to bet? Here we go. Hold on. So I'm pulling it up to my Robinhood account, right? And there's a couple ETFs that I own stock in. And this one right here, this ETF is the Direction Daily MSCI Real Estate Bear ETF, right? The ticker for it is DRV, right? So how much do I have in it? Hold on. 30 shares at 13.20. So I'm guessing when the housing market crashes right after the election, that those 30 shares might go up to, instead of 13.20 that they are today, they might go up to 40. And if the market doesn't crash, I'll still be able to get part of my money back, probably $12 to $10 a share. It's not that I'm risking that much money on that, but actually the one that I'm betting against more than that is I actually have 40 shares of Dust. That's the ticker name. That's the bear ETF on the price of gold, the spot price of gold. Every time it drops, that ETF goes up. Right now, gold's at record highs. And when it does crash, that ETF is going to go pew. So, by the way, don't take any stock advice from me. I am not a professional. I am gambling. I'm just telling you where my gambles are. Shepard says, I'll bet $5 I can use Venmo. I'll take your $5, Shep. Here's my electronic handshake. If Trump wins re-election, he'll successfully appoint another 3 Supreme Court justices in his second term, breaking every presidential record since Washington appointed the first 4. Probably. And here's the thing. Liberals are afraid about Roe v. Wade being overturned. And I don't even think that that's like the worst of what a completely conservative Supreme Court could do to us. But also, I don't even think that they're going to touch Roe v. Wade. I mean, they've been sitting there with a conservative majority for how long right now? Like, how many more conservative judges do we need for them to reverse Roe v. Wade? To me, it's a red herring. Also, there are other rulings that build on that precedent of Roe v. Wade that kind of strengthen it, that they'd be like overturning all of it. I'd hate to see it happen. I'd think that was a tragedy, and I would think that it would just create this wave of Democratic voting year after year for them to try to get the right to choose again, but I just don't see it happening. And like Shepard says there about Roe v. Wade, why is it a yes or no dichotomy of choice? They could just deconstruct it and modify it. just a little bit, like no third term abortions without, a doctor saying that the mother's life was in jeopardy, you know, and then the doctor gets reviewed. They could do something like that because they always like try to turn it into, oh, they're aborting full blown babies that are like the ninth month at the last minute. They're like letting the head come out before they stab it. Like that's how they're describing it when it's not really that way. In fact, most abortions that happen when the baby is that far along, the mother actually wanted the baby and is really distraught that they can't keep it for whatever reason. So, um, yeah, it's a horrible, messy topic, but I don't think that they're actually going to uh, try to overturn Roe v. Wade. If they were, they would have already gone for it. I mean, hell, Trump paid one of his mistresses to. So, um, so then there was a commercial in the video, right? We came back from the commercial, and there was this uh, person who was black asking the question to Joe Biden with a zinger. This was a zinger against Joe Biden, and he said, "Besides, you ain't black. What do you say to young voters that think that voting is participating in systematic oppression?" Right? And that's a callback to Joe Biden telling somebody who's black, if he's voting for Trump, that he isn't black. Right? Which was not Joe Biden's best moment. So the fact that they brought that back up and like threw it at him as a zinger, good stuff. And it goes against what Poseidon was saying, that Biden was kind of coddled. It wasn't all coddling, you know, but Biden quoted John Lewis in saying that the vote is a sacred opportunity, and Biden said that he's made two passions clear. One was about he cares about black families' ability to generate wealth and generational wealth, and then two, he cares about every 3, 4, and 5 year old being able to go to school, not daycare, um, which he says will help those kids make it through school and fix the dropout rates. And then he says he's going to bring in more school counselors. He's got $70 billion planned for historically black colleges and universities, which I'm not sure that is uh, something that speaks to me. I like to see money also get spent in regular universities earmarked towards minorities achieving there too, because I don't want all the minorities to just go to a college just for them. Well, segregation, it's not good, you know. If a school is historically black, that's awesome. I still want like white people to be able to go to that school, and I still want minorities to go to the other schools. Wherever you're going, I hope it's a great experience and you get something out of it. But to say that you're only going to give this money towards these particular schools, it's like, we fought hard to get rid of segregation. Um, it's money for a school, and in that respect, I'm okay with it. But he says he's going to guarantee a $15,000 down payment for first-time home buyers, which I know $15,000 seems like something that a lot of people can't save right now. Um, but hear me out. In the housing market that we have right now, $15,000 isn't shit. This is like Biden thinking that a whole sack of candy costs a nickel. Okay, for him to say $15,000 down payment for a house that is probably going to be like $400,000, no, we need more. You know, that's like people saying, "Oh, we need to fight for $15 an hour minimum wage." No, no. Quick math, hear me out. Your rent payment should be, if you're living in a one bedroom apartment, it should be no more than a quarter of your income. If you are getting charged rent of like $1,000, which you can't even find a one bedroom in Denver for $1,000. If your rent was at $1,000, you should be making $48,000 a year. If you were making $48,000 a year, you'd be making around $23 an hour, right? If you don't make that much, then a higher percentage than 25% of your pay is going to where you live. Whether it's a mortgage or your rent, you should not be paying more than 25% of your income to it, or else you have a poor standard of living. You cannot save money. You are being bled dry by either the bank or your renter. So, $15,000 is not enough for a down payment. Maybe matching people's funds to get the 15,000 and then their 15,000. Maybe that would be a good less than 10% down on a house. Oh, Ivan Vane Veen is here. Welcome to the show. And you said nice troll shirt. This was actually bought for me by a guy who is a long time subscriber of mine. He's a good friend of mine, Alan. He's now like the retro gaming nerd, but he used to be called the Doctor Who nerd. But yeah, this is the more you pwn. Thank you for noticing. This T-shirt is like 8 years old now, so yeah, it comes from that time on YouTube. Back in my day. He also said that he was going to end redlining, which good luck. You know, banks will judge based on whether they think you can repay the loan. And they're going to look at all the different criteria. And like getting rid of criteria for banks would be like getting rid of the ability to screen for pre-existing conditions for healthcare insurance, which in and of itself is kind of like gambling. They're gambling with their money. Like you pay them a little bit, and then like if something happens to you, they're going to pay you out a lot. We maybe shouldn't have a healthcare insurance system. Maybe we should have single payer, because if we're going to be covering pre-existing conditions, then we're kind of taking away their edge, the house's edge in this gambling situation. So Stephanopoulos then stops Biden, right? Here's the coddling part. He stops Biden from talking. He looks at the kid who asked the question, "What are you going to do?" Except just say that we're not black if we don't vote for you. And Biden gave all these answers, right? Stephanopoulos stops Biden and says, "Kid, did you hear what you needed to hear?" The kid says, "Yeah." And Biden continues to talk. He's like, "Oh, I got this." And Biden starts another ramble about accumulating wealth and how, like, families that accumulate wealth, they pass down wealth to other families. And it was a good story. It was funny that he wouldn't shut up about the topic, even when Stephanopoulos tried to like save him. He's like, you're talking a little long. We got other people to ask you questions. Yeah, he knew a lot about the subject. He had a lot of plans. Just wasn't reading the room in that situation as far as like, we hear you. Let's move on. Ivan Vane says usually psych books about the presidents aren't great. Bush on the couch was not great. He says, I've read Mary Trump's book. It was very interesting. Anyway, have a good weekend from Sydney, Australia. I have the audiobook and I'm in chapter 8. And after this live stream, I'm going to go back to putting my notes in for my job. And I listen to audiobooks while I do it. And so I'll start by listening to that again. Thank you for stopping by, Ivan. The Tassie Devils have mouth-nose tumor disease. I don't know what you're saying there. Poseidon says, Ivan, how often do you eat kangaroo jerky? Never tried it. I get beef jerky from the North Territory, though. Fair question for the Aussie. So, the next question somebody asked Biden was, what was your view of the 1994 crime bill now? And he said at the time it was good. It had the Violence Against Women Act was in it. Assault weapons ban was good. Drug courts are good. And as an addiction counselor, I agree that being able to take someone who is in regular court and then defer them to drug court is a lot better, because the treatment being mandated can really help people that are in that situation. He says that we should decriminalize drugs, get people out of jail who were there for just drug-related crimes. He said he never wanted more money for states' prisons and private prisons. So that's something about the 1994 crime bill that he was against. But also, Stephanopoulos chimed in and said, "Well, what is it a mistake?" And he says, "Yes, but the mistakes happened locally, not federally," which I'll say was him passing the blame. For example, a parallel: Trump says that he's going to let the states govern as far as lockdowns, instead of making a national lockdown effort. Right? That's Trump's position, is that the states can rule themselves. What Biden is saying here is that the problem with the crime bill was the state's implementation of it, not the federal level, making these funding for different programs. Right? So it was really just passing the blame on to the states, instead of accepting that the bill had some very bad consequences for black people. He said that there was a sentencing commission that looked at sentences, and things got better for black people, even if they didn't get better for them as a ratio of how much a black person gets sentenced to something versus a white person. But I have to fact check that. I listened to what he was saying, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know enough about that. So I got to fact check that. And maybe somebody already has. It's been 24 hours, but basically he's saying that sentencing for everything came down a little bit, which the whole point of that crime bill was to make America safer. So I really have to fact check that. Stephanopoulos said it funded police, and he said, "Do you still think that more cops equals less crime?" And Biden said, "Yes, if there is community policing." Then he said the mistake happened when the funding for community policing at the state level instead went to Humvees and SWAT teams, and that's where the mistakes of the crime bill happened. They gave them money, and the money didn't get used the way that they intended. Biden then says we need to bring all parties together in a national study group to make some significant reforms over the next year. And I'll just say that I'm sick of hearing about commissions and study groups and all that. I want action, not research study groups when we know what the fucking problem is. You know. Um, but again, I'm more from that left wing of the Democratic Party looking at Biden. So he said most cops don't like bad cops, but they get intimidated into not reporting, which is true. They said cops should have prosecutors from outside their district if they're getting prosecuted for something. I'm all for that. He said teach de-escalation. I'm all for that. But then he said don't shoot to kill, shoot them in the leg, like the clip that I showed you guys at the beginning of this now 2 hour long live stream. And then I was just like, oh gosh, that's such a gaffe. They're just gonna jump all over that. Psych exams for cops, I'm with that. Identify things that have to change. Okay. Um, provide psychologists to go on ride-alongs with cops to certain calls. I love that idea. It's going to create jobs too, by the way. He says, don't defund the cops, fund them in a better way, which also I'm for. Um, I believe that defund the police is as poorly thought out as a slogan as Bernie Sanders being very adamant about keeping to the label Democratic Socialist. You know, words matter, and all that the Republicans hear when they think about Bernie Sanders is socialist. So when people say defund the police, they're not thinking of about like reforming the police through spending the money wisely on the programs that you want that will make the police better. No, they're thinking about there being anarchy, no police. So it's a horrible slogan, and I'm glad that Biden is not going with the slogan of defund the police, but he is doing reform of the police. Okay? So then there were commercials. And you guys know how I feel about commercials. But when it came back, it turned out that I had already seen all the rest of it because, I saw it out of order. So then I went to the Trump video on YouTube, which was already up on YouTube, when I started first looking for the town halls. Before I get to all that, welcome principled uncertainty. You retracted a message before I read it. No privacy. Welcome to you. I started this live stream late so I could get all of you who like to comment on my videos in the middle of the fucking night. I don't read your comments until I wake up, right? I'm not losing any sleep for you. But let's see. We'll start with Poseidon says, up your nuts and guts again, you grommet bogan. He said that to Ivan. Hopefully I said bogan right. Is it bogan or bogan? I don't know. Poseidon says, do what half the country already does. Don't vote. That'll show them. No. Principled Uncertainty said, community policing. Crime is caused by diligent cops, not criminals. LOL. Okay. Principled Uncertainty says, defund the rapists and the thieves. Okay. I can see that as an argument parallel to if guns are illegal, then only criminals will have them. That sort of thing, right? Poseidon says, Biden told us to play the record player to cure troubled black youth. The guys in the white coats should have dragged him away in a net after that outburst. Um, yeah, that was not his best moment. You know, both presidential candidates have bad moments, but as far as Biden's, some of his gaffes, especially the ones where he cannot remember people's names, especially famous people's names, and he'll say, you know, the black guy that played the trombone, because the way that his stutter in his they're calling it a stutter, right? The way that his mind is just not able to recall people's names, it sometimes comes off really, really badly. It's you know when he talks about President Obama and cannot remember the name Obama and says, that black president that I worked for. It's like, oh god. No Privacy says Dems step on their own message. Uh, you weren't even here for me talking about fracking. No Privacy. Principled Uncertainty says black people don't commit crime. It's a white myth. Um, I think crime is it correlates to poverty, and unfortunately, skin color also correlates to poverty as well. But I think that that does not mean that the skin color correlates to crime. It's just that poverty is the intersection between both of them. So um, I don't know if you're just like uh, trolling me there, but whatever. No Privacy says I wake up in the middle of the night. To answer my texts? Is that what you're saying? Um, Dinah says if only criminals have guns, so what? Oh, well, there's people who would like to be able to defend themselves against criminals with guns, and so they want guns themselves because they're not happy with police response times, and they are not happy that so many criminals out there would have guns and they would just be able to victimize them and whatnot. Personally, I plan on making a whole bunch of money and moving further out in the mountains, probably closer to where the wildfires are happening right now. And I want to be able to have an assault weapon in case a bear knocks on my door, like a real bear. Like I want a gun that can put down a bear because I'm going to live among them. So, and mountain lions too. So, not that I want to kill a bear. It's just if it knocks down your door, you got to put it down. It's because it's you or the bear. Um, some countries don't have bears. And No Privacy says that's happened to me. It really sucks. And I don't know if he's talking about the bear or anything because there's a delay in me reading you guys' comments. Dinah says it occurred to me today that when the SCOTUS strikes down the Affordable Care Act, which is now inevitable, Biden will have no health care plan. Yeah, well, on the flip side of that, Donald Trump is actually right now proving how great America is because we give free health care to people who are old and broke. So, Principled Uncertainty says, why have white people all the guilt, but black people get magic excuses, not trolling? It is grating at this point. I'll say I see what you're saying there. I felt it on different levels as a white person. Um, I especially thought that Jim Carrey's breakout show that he was on was In Living Color, where he was the only white comedian who was part of the main cast year after year. And what I saw there was um, it was my first introduction to why I would feel like I was being made fun of as a white person, and it was only okay to for me to laugh at white people, but not at black people that same way. That like it's okay. Like and then from there, I started thinking about look at how they portray Homer Simpson and who's that guy on Family Guy? Peter Griffin, right? The or even Al Bundy, right? The patriarch of the family is a if it's a white guy, he's bubbling, right? And it gets to you. It really does. But what I'll say is that at a certain point, I became so confident in my white privilege, so confident in it, that I think that I can get over anything that anything that you're saying about like only white people having guilt in a certain way and not other people. I'm like, fine, you know, I'm still going to do good for myself. There is nothing that can happen to me that's going to keep me from being in a safe and secure place in life. You know, I don't feel like I'm threatened by them having a certain advantage in any sort of you know modality of thinking, any sort of argumentation that I can't have that they can have, any sort of words that I'm not allowed to say that they're allowed to say. I don't feel threatened by that. I would vote for all black people in America right now to just get a $10,000 check. We'll say 2022. We'll save up a bunch of money with taxes, give each one of them $10,000. We'll call it reparations, call it whatever you want. Just call it like an affirmative action. Hey, we see that you guys struggle a little bit more. Here's $10,000 more. Every one of them, no matter what they're making, just $10,000. Guess what? By the next year, I'm still going to be doing better off than most people that don't have my white skin. And I wouldn't trade my skin for that $10,000. I've seen classrooms where people try to say like, well, how much could would you require us to pay you if you had to live the rest of your life as a black man? And I've seen some people come up with pretty fair calculations of saying like, well, 3 million. You know, um, I am not threatened at all by them getting a little bit more in certain areas, right? It's not about what for me. It's not about what they're getting. I'm not jealous of them getting a little bit of extra attention because maybe they're having a little bit worse problems because people discriminate against them. So they have a little bit more programs here. They have Biden right now saying, you know, he's going to give $70 billion to historically black colleges and universities. I'm like, fine, give those colleges that money. Give free degrees to everybody else. Me having to pay for my degree, I'm still going to come out better than them. So I don't care if we're giving them free stuff. I don't care if they've earned it. Like some people are like, oh, well, you should only get the things that you earn. No, for me, I'm like, if we have a bunch of money that we've all decided, you know, we want a better society, just throw the money at the problems that we want to, you know, make things better, you know, and quit worrying about like if people on the individual level deserve it. You know, we're all human, but nut up seriously and just realize that even at a disadvantage, if you're white, you're going to come out ahead, right? Which it in itself is a little bit racist to say, right? It is in a way, but I have this confidence in me that says I'm strong. I know that my hard work is going to pay off, and I don't mind if other people are getting a little bit of help, you know. And I recognize that when everybody has, then it's not a zero sum game. When everybody has more money, I'm eventually going to end up with more money. You give $10,000 to everyone who's a little bit oppressed in America, there's eventually going to be some white people benefiting from the spending that is generated by that money. And it won't take long for a lot of that money to go right back into the people who already have the money and power, right? So a lot of the arguments that people should only uh, get what they deserve, people should work hard and not get any handouts and all that. I'm like, it's not really going to destroy our country to have some social programs where we try to fix things, and try to make things better for people. You know, I think the strength of our country is better measured in what we do for the poor people. Like to say, we have so much money in our country that nobody has to go hungry. If we could do that, that is like a huge flex. That's like, what other country does that nobody's starving, right? If we had everyone not having even one day where they are short of food on the table, I'd say, like, let's do it. I don't care if they earned it. I don't care if they put as much work into it, if they were valued as much. Let's just let's do something amazing with our might as a country, and not have homelessness, poverty, you know, hunger, shit like that. People not being able to afford going to the doctor. You know, I'm just speaking as a far left person at this point. Poseidon says I'm well. That was well said, principled you. Um, principled uncertainty says, "Damn your reasonable take. I love this, Mike." No privacy says, "One day when everyone has toilet paper." I don't think this breaks confidentiality, but it's right on the edge here. Uh, a lot of the places that I have worked and still worked right now have had toilet paper stolen from the bathrooms. It's it's not good. I wish everyone did have toilet paper. When I was in the army, it was free for everyone. There's a wind blowing right now, and I have my air conditioner in the window with a plexiglass thing on top of it, and it is making a little bit of squeaking. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that because there's a shift in the wind. But it's now 12:14, and I need to start on what Trump did. It took 2 hours for me to cover Biden's 1 hour town hall. This is gonna suck. We're going towards like 2 a.m. So the Trump town hall was with Savannah Guthrie, and she started by telling the audience, this is not how things were supposed to go. And she went into all the context of that, which includes Trump pulling out of that debate that was going to be online. And from that moment of giving that context, I felt like they're against him. You know, just it makes him look like he was the coward because he couldn't do the same thing that he did in the first debate to Biden again if it was, digitally moderated with basically it being a giant Zoom call. So I noticed that everyone in the crowd was socially distanced with masks, and that they had like stars inlaid into the stage. Maybe it was just like mats, but it was like it looked presidential. It looked a little bit better than uh, the town hall that Biden was at. It looked well, and then it was the place where the debate was supposed to happen, in Miami. So like maybe their stage was like recycled. I don't know, from it being the debate. So the president looked healthy, which was something that I was looking at. Um, he didn't look like he was short of breath to me at all. He looked like he had more energy than Biden. I give him the edge on that as far as appearing healthier, even though he had the coronavirus and Biden didn't. Savannah Guthrie said how severe was his symptoms. He said he didn't feel good. He had a temperature. He was tired, and they gave him Regeneron and Remdesivir. Right. She asked when was the last negative test before the debate, which was something I wanted to know. And then she was like, "Did you take a test on the day of the debate?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I take a lot of tests. The doctors would know." But the doctors aren't going to give the answer because he has confidentiality to his health records, and they can't say what he doesn't want them to. So he dodged that question. Savannah Guthrie said about the Amy Coney Barrett nomination reception. Shouldn't you guys known better than to have that without masks? And then Trump said this weird statistic, which I think he was just like misstating. He said 85% of people who wear masks catch it, which I think he meant 85% of the people who catch it report that they sometimes wear a mask. Like they should not have caught it because they had been trying to protect themselves. Savannah Guthrie said all these people who went to the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett got coronavirus there, and Chris Christie, when he got out of the hospital, he said that he should have worn a mask, and then Trump said, "Well, I can't be president and do nothing for a year." And Spurgleberry Farm in the chat, she's saying 85% report that they usually wore masks. Yeah, and probably the time that they didn't wear masks, they got it. But Trump completely botched the statistic. Like the way that he said it was completely backwards. Even if he was trying to use that point in a way that was misleading, he couldn't even be misleading with it because he went over the top with it. 85% of people who wear masks catch COVID. No. Because that's most of the country, and most of the country hasn't caught it yet. Only, 7 or 8 million at this point. So Trump was saying, well, I can't just do nothing for a year. I can't just go into a bunker and do nothing. And so Savannah Guthrie said, well, your rallies don't require masks. And then Trump said, well, look, now Kamala has it. That was his answer to that. He didn't respond as far as him having rallies without masks. then he went on and said, many people are getting it, and this disease was sent to us by China. And he started going to like stump speech mode, but like again, trying to blame it on China. Yes, China might have been the progenitor of it. It might have been some Chinese guy uh, eating a pangolin who ate a bat, and he was like swimming in their blood. Whatever. That one Chinese guy did that. China did their best to contain it. China has far less deaths from the coronavirus than us. And the fact that we are incubating the virus puts all other countries in jeopardy. That we can't contain the virus makes their countries less safe. We are the bad ones now. Yeah, maybe they were bad originally. But now, it's not the China virus. It's the fucking White House virus. Anyways, Trump and Savannah argued over numbers, yada yada. Trump said, "We're doing incredible. We're rounding the corner." At this point, I'll call Trump on that lie because, winter is coming, and our death rates are still holding steady at just under 1,000 people dead a day. Pretty much every 3 or 4 days we have in the U.S. like another 9/11 worth of people dead. Daily around the world we have a 9/11 worth of people dead every fucking day since March. So no, we're not rounding the corner. Winter is going to change people's habits as far as what they do. They're going to go from indoor setting to indoor setting in the snow. This is going to create transmission that way, and it's just going to be just like the flu. We're going to have a spike over the wintertime. That's what I'm expecting. So for him to say we're rounding the corner when we just had like 60,000 cases per day the last couple days, no, we're not rounding the corner. We were doing better than that before that. It's just going to get worse over the winter time. Savannah said, "Are you going for a herd immunity as a strategy?" And Trump said that the cure can't be worse than the disease, which is weird because one of my friends, who's also a Democrat but argues with me about the lockdowns, said the exact same thing on Facebook. I was like, that sounds like my friend who I fight with all the time. So I have really big feelings about that phrase. The cure can't be worse than the disease. As if the lockdowns would have killed 200,000 people or more. If we could have saved all those people who died of coronavirus, that more people would have died because of losing their job or starving or not being able to get medical care because something was shut down. We had pretty stringent lockdowns. They lifted a little bit, but people weren't dying from the lockdowns. They were dying from the Rona. So that this fear that the cure can't be worse than the disease, what it's doing is it's placing the importance, instead of on coronavirus victims who are dying, it's placing it on the economy and the stock market. That's where his priorities lie. So I see principal uncertainty making the collateral damage arguments in the chat. And I would say that anybody who rewatches this show should look at his arguments because, we're talking hypotheticals here. But there are lots of places that did really stringent lockdowns and contact tracing, and their economies are not suffering. And what I'm going to say right now is, if people don't trust that they can leave their home without catching the Rona, we're not going to have the cinema. Those companies are going to die. We're not going to have malls. Those companies are going to die. If we had locked down for just a couple months, we wouldn't have years of depression from people being afraid of the Rona, right? A quick, stringent lockdown with a national federal response was what we needed to prevent years of people not spending. That's going to hurt the economy. And all that he was saying about, like, well, the lockdowns can't be worse, the cure can't be worse than the disease. Well, now you fucked things. Now what we're doing is worse than, that stringent lockdown. Now we're forced to not have that lockdown, because to do contact tracing, you need far fewer people dying per day than, near 1,000, and you need far fewer cases than 60,000 cases per day to be able to successfully contact trace all those fucking cases. That would create like a whole new branch of the military in order to try to contact trace all those fucking people. So, no, we're fucked, and you fucked us. Those are my feelings. Trump said that we're winning court cases all over where lockdowns are unconstitutional. Okay. I believe in Trump's lawyer's ability to make the argument that saving lives is unconstitutional. I believe it. Principle of Uncertainty says, Mike, think of the implications. The poor are the victims of the lockdowns. Poverty will have doubled by next year. According to the World Health Organization, it took 20 years to halve it. Consider those consequences. Okay, what I'm saying is the economic consequences of not shutting down the entire economy and telling everyone to go home for 3 months, and then enforcing it and making not just the Democrats who are scared of the virus, but all of the Republicans. The ramifications of not making everyone lock down 100% for a couple months have now cost us years of financial hardship. It could have been done when it was a smaller problem. Now, I'll say now, with 60,000 cases a day, we need a different strategy than lockdown and contact trace. We do. He fucked our ability to do that. We can't do those sort of measures. We can't have the numbers that South Korea has. We can't have the numbers that more successful countries at defeating this virus have. We have to go with other measures. We're basically praying that our vaccine comes through. Or we're going for herd immunity. And his not wearing masks and not requiring people to wear masks at his events drug the rest of us who would have wanted to be more prudent into this situation. Spurgleberry Farm says lockdowns protect the rich who can work from home while the poor have to continue to work, so they, the poor, bear the burden of gaining herd immunity. I see your point there. There are some rich people who would also be in contact with a lot of people. When we're doing these lockdowns and then we declare some people essential workers, we should have a lot more social distancing and measures in place to try to keep the virus from spreading. Some of the rich people that I know, the people that I consider to be rich, are making 35 to 55 an hour as nurses, and they're getting COVID combat pay. So, no, it's not just the rich people. Some people are well paid, but still required to deal with the virus. Spurgleberry Farm says 100% lockdown means who responds to medical or fire emergencies, who moves food products, who responds to utility outages. Good points there, right? Here's what I'm saying 100% everyone, if they can, stay in their house and live off whatever canned foods you got. You know, can we make it 2 weeks? The president can't even make it 2 weeks of quarantine. He's got to be out there, like, he cannot be saving the people around him. He's got to infect everyone around him because he's got to be the president and be out there to see the adulation of his people. But, can we have, an assortment of food, maybe some of it dropped off by, whatever your favorite delivery service is, but can we social distance and stay away from people for 2 weeks? Because if we could 100% lock down everyone we could for 2 weeks, we might be able to get the cases down to where we could contact trace them. This would take national, federal level coordination. I believe Biden might actually go for that. And that's maybe why people are going to vote for him, because he will try to take on the responsibility rather than push the responsibility off on the states and governors. Principled Uncertainty says the Dems and the European left were more worried about offending the Chinese at the start. I was there, I saw and heard it. Google, by the way, tries to hide this fact, which is creepy. And I would say part of that is Trump has been racist in the past. And so the knee-jerk reaction of Biden and Pelosi to say Trump locking down the country from China is racist. That's like the story of the boy who cried wolf. This was the one time that Trump was prudent in shutting down travel from China. He was prudent to do that. And then, people assumed, oh, you have racist motives because you called Mexicans rapists and you tried to do a Muslim travel ban as your first act as the president. And it's like, no, actually, he was just trying to do what was right in that moment. And because we have such a divided, divisive country, no matter what people do, the other party is going to say, oh, well, you fucked up because now you're, at odds with this principle that we have. And with Trump, it's really easy to call him a racist. So I don't believe Trump was a racist for shutting down travel from China. And I think he should have sooner shut down travel from every country, including the white European ones, who then went on to, in Italy and Spain, have very high numbers of COVID really early. But yeah, I think that Trump was right to do what he did when he did, and he brought that up in his town hall. But getting back to the town hall. Oh, Diana Cat says, I think it's too late for Biden to be able to do that. It's out of control now. You can't get it back. Well, it's definitely out of control now. And I don't even know that trying a lockdown strategy in the winter time would help. We might have to wait till spring to the numbers just naturally going down for him to attempt to drive them down with a strategy. And hopefully by that time we have the vaccine that Trump says he's going to have before Election Day. Remember that promise? I do. So, Savannah Guthrie, she brought up the whole thing where Trump said, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by instead of stand down. And Savannah Guthrie says, "You were asked to denounce white supremacy," and Trump said, "I denounce white supremacy and Antifa, which is worse." Um, but he did at least clearly, like without hesitation, say, "I denounce white supremacy." Um, I have seen commercials defending Trump on this whole white supremacy thing. With that happened with the first debate, but uh, at various points in his presidency, he has stated prior to the first debate that he denounced white supremacy. Now, he has said some things that uh, emboldened them, like saying at Charlottesville that there were good people on both sides. He also does enjoy a lot of support from white supremacists, which is not his fault, you know. Um, I'm sure that Biden enjoying uh, the support of anti-vaxxers is not his choice either. Some people will support you even if they disagree with you on certain issues. But I do believe that Trump is cognizant of his base of people who vote for him who are racists. I believe he's cognizant of the fact that, well, a big part of the push to elect him was a response to 8 years of our first black president. And, you know, I'm glad that he at least did say, "I denounce white supremacy," you know, just the words. I mean, it does count for something because those guys are at home saying, "What?" You know, the few of them that there actually are. Um, Savannah Guthrie then, after Trump clearly enunciated that he denounced white supremacy, she said, "Can you also denounce QAnon?" Which I have very strong feelings of because I've lost two friends already to the QAnon rabbit hole. One of which is not talking to me. That's Robert Wallace. Um, the other one I'm never talking to again because of circumstances. But Robert Wallace, we were close. I was talking to him every day on Marco Polo on my phone, every fucking day. He sent me uh, a Burger King gift card and $50 for gas for going to the Skeptic Heretics trial. You know, we were close, and it's this QAnon shit that drove a wedge between us. He's like super QAnon right now. So I have a lot of feelings about this issue. But Trump, he said, "Well, I don't know about them except for that they're against pedophilia," and I agree with that. Which I know Donald Trump knows who QAnon are. It's like, how could he not? There are Q T-shirts that he's pointed to in the crowds and going like that. People show up to his rallies with giant cardboard cutout Qs. Um, there are documentaries about it which mention Trump, and anytime his name is mentioned, he's going to watch it. They talk about it on Fox News, and that's what he watches every morning. So I know he knows about fucking QAnon, but he's lying because he knows that a lot of people who uh, have fallen into that QAnon rabbit hole, they're supporting him, right? He's not worried about losing all-out white supremacists. There's actually not a lot of them. They are dangerous, the ones that are out there, but the QAnon vote, that's millions of people. You know how many people land on uh, Q maps every fucking day? It's fucking ridiculous. There's a lot of fucktards in the world. So, anyways, Savannah Guthrie, she redirected and she said, but you don't believe that there's, satanic pedophilia in the Democratic Party, do you? And Trump says, well, I don't know. And she was aghast. I could see how that just like it was flooring her. It was. He's basically promoting the theory that it's possible that Democrats have a satanic pedophilia ring going on. So then she said, "Well, you retweeted this thing and this thing," and then Trump was like, "Well, those are retweets. My retweets aren't endorsements." And she's like, "Well, you're not just somebody's crazy uncle. You're the president." To which I imagine Mary Trump, the author of that book, Too Much and Never Enough, she's like, actually, he is somebody's crazy uncle. So, let's see what's going on in the chat. Dinah says he didn't shut down travel from China. He shut down travel by Chinese, and it was racist. I see your point there, but I would have gone further and shut down travel by anybody from any country that wasn't the U.S. So I would have been completely nationalist in my response. Trump, in my opinion, didn't go far enough. His focus was on the origin and how easy it is for him to enact, just a really quick executive order on just Chinese people who might have been coming from Wuhan, but yeah. Principal Uncertainty says, no, he said that there were good people on both sides of the debate. Watch the whole clip, Mike. You know what? I do agree with you that it gets taken out of context. And a lot of things sound a lot better when you hear the full context. Principal Uncertainty said Trump did not defend Richard Spencer and his Spurgs. Spurgleberry Farm says Richard Spencer's now supporting Biden. I wonder if it's because he knows that whoever he supports is going to have a negative effect from that support, so he's placing it on Biden now. Same thing with David Duke. Principal Uncertainty says, okay, to be honest, Trump must stop winking at the Q-tards. I give you that. Dinah, good night. PU says, don't fall out with Rob forever. We're all stressed right now, M. I sent him that clip of Joe Biden that I played at the beginning of this show with Joe Biden saying that police should shoot people in the leg instead of shooting to kill, because I knew that was pretty much a layup for Robert. And I've sent him a few things like that where I know that it would be good fodder for the type of videos that he makes. And he has not responded to anything. So I didn't give up on him. When there's a layup that I see that he would be able to benefit from, I've sent it straight to him. Like I did before. So Principal Uncertainty says if I tolerate him, that I should forgive Robert. Let me tell you, Robert doesn't have a cute accent. Spurgleberry Farm says the story about the billionaire paying Epstein millions after he was convicted, a convicted pedo, and released the day before. Um, that came out on The Hill. I saw a Sagar and Jetty piece on that. Yeah, those Epstein flight logs, they're wonderful. By the way, people are connecting Trump to Epstein in a whole bunch of different ways. But what I noticed about those flight logs is I actually know that the times that Trump was flying on Epstein's plane predate when Epstein actually bought the island. So keep your story straight. Maybe there was pedophilia going on somewhere else. Maybe Epstein was just trying to buy favors so that he could later try to entice Trump into pedophilia, which he didn't do. Maybe. But as far as whether Trump went to the island, no. There are witnesses that say that Bill Clinton was there on the island, and there are no witnesses that say that Trump was there because his interactions with Epstein predate the whole island situation. Spurgleberry Farm says the travel ban was against anyone who'd been in the region, and U.S. people had to do quarantine on arrival to the U.S. You guys remember the cruise ship that they weren't letting people get off of, and so like people were all catching it from each other because they couldn't quarantine away from each other because they were all in that giant floating petri dish. You know, you know the reason why Trump wouldn't let them get onto U.S. soil? Because then their deaths would count as U.S. deaths, and he was trying to artificially keep the U.S. deaths small by not counting our own cruise ships and our citizens who were on the cruise ship. That's why he wouldn't let them dock, because then we would have had official deaths. Now we've got more than 215,000 of those deaths, so it doesn't really matter now. But at the time, he didn't want the U.S. looking like we had deaths. Spurgleberry Farm says Spencer is supporting Biden because he wants segregation, and Trump was not racist enough for him. He says that the alt-right were duped by Trump. I would say that the alt-right were duped by Trump. I'd say the whole Republican Party was duped by Trump. Like, if you look at what Trump's stances on even like Roe v. Wade were, you know, years before he decided to run for president, it's like he's not actually a Republican. He's now super Republican to their faces at all these rallies, but like he used to give money to the Clintons. He used to be in tight with the Clintons. Ivanka and Chelsea Clinton used to be best fucking friends. So yeah, he's duped them all. He's been like a complete wolf in sheep's clothing this whole fucking time. You know, um, he says what they want to hear. PU says, I have to go. My son just woke up. Best wishes to you and Misty. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. I think I don't have any viewers left. Oh, I have 5. Okay. Spurgleberry Farm says California controlled them getting off the ship. No. Those orders came from on high. Don't let that ship count against our numbers as a country. Now, it's a moot point now. But those people some of them did not deserve to catch that virus, because the politics of where they landed would mean that those people counted as cases for that place, which was going to kill the economy of that place. That's why they weren't allowed to land. It's just, I feel for them. Anyways, Savannah Guthrie asked the president, "Will you accept the results of the election?" And Trump's reaction to that was, "I see thousands of military votes in the dumpster." And Trump just like shouted a whole bunch of different numbers. He said 500,000 fake ballot requests were in Virginia, which I did some quick math on that, and they have like 8.5 million people in Virginia, and that works out to about 6% of their population requested ballots, like mail ballots, which, that could be just normal for a pandemic. But he calls them 500,000 fake ballot requests were put in Virginia. I'm like, maybe they're real. Also, at this point, I looked at how much time had been eaten up of Trump's hour just responding to Savannah Guthrie. And it was like she had 20 minutes out of his hour. That's a whole third of his hour was her asking him hard questions. So what Poseidon said about, Biden had it easy and Trump had it harder, it's completely true. As far as the way that the interviewer handled the situation, yes, Savannah Guthrie just took it to Trump in the first 20 minutes and asked him a lot of hard questions. Then after I made that realization, Trump said, "They spied on my campaign. They tried to remove a duly elected president in the last 3.5 years. They've done me wrong all these times, but I will accept the results." He says, "The answer is I will accept the results, but I want a clean election and I want to win." Um, then Savannah asked him the question, "If you knew COVID was airborne and deadlier than the flu, why did you not do more than just the China travel ban?" And Trump said, "My travel ban was earlier than Fauci said, and Pelosi and Biden called me xenophobic." And he kind of dodged the question a little bit. But then he said, "Well, I didn't want to panic the country," which is pretty much admitting that he wasn't straight up with the country. He was more worried about, these guys don't really take this kind of news well, so I don't want to tell it to him. So he lied. And people died. Then he got a question from an ER doctor who was a Trump supporter, and she said, "Hospitals are suffering and workers are being furloughed. How are you going to get the U.S. back on track?" Morning Badger, I see that you just joined my show. I only have 5 people watching at this point because I have been live for almost 3 hours. Trump's response to the ER doctor was that we're going to have a phenomenal third quarter, which the numbers will come out like the end of October, like 3 days before the election. That what were the third quarter numbers? He says jobs, housing. Look, this thing came into our country from that other country, and unemployment is down to 7.8% again, and we're going to have a V-shaped recovery, and we've sent billions to hospitals, yada yada yada. And then the question from the daughter of that same person who asked the previous question, who was not a Trump supporter like her mom, she said, "After contracting COVID, has your opinion changed about masks?" And Trump said, "No, I've always been good with masks." So then Savannah Guthrie said, "You have so much influence. Why don't you tell your people to wear masks?" And Trump said, "Well, the science is hazy on the masks, and we're in agreement on masks, so just let's move on." It's uh, Then there were commercials, and every time there was commercials in my notes, I look at the chat. Uh, Badger says, "Have I seen any fake ballot boxes?" Wrong state. That's California, not Colorado. Um, as far as like fake ballot box, people are like collecting the ballots from their community and then turning them in for them, which in some ways is allowed. Um, this whole ballot harvesting thing, there's certain ways you can do it, certain ways you can't. You can't pay anyone, but let's say, for instance, we have 3 ballots in my house that came in the mail. If the other 2 people fill out their own ballot and sign the outside of their ballot envelope and seal it, and we all 3 have our ballot envelopes, I don't have to drive all 3 of us down to the ballot box that's official and have all 3 of us drop our own ballots in there. I can drop all 3, just me. I don't have to take those 2 with me. Right? They signed the outside of their envelope that the ballot goes back into. That signature is going to get compared the same way. So when people have, like, their community church has a ballot box there, that's because they're trying to make it easier for their parishioners to vote. And there are some places in America where these voter suppression tactics have happened, where the ballot boxes that are official are so far away from people's homes that I can't hold it against them. Right? Now, it does allow for a certain level of, you know, fucking with the vote if somebody were to say take that box and like throw it in the trash, or take the votes out and like put it under a light and say, I see that you voted Democrat, I throw that away, and only turn in the Republican ones. That would be horrible, but you're only supposed to allow somebody else to do this for you, like the U.S. mail, where you could just put a stamp on it and have the mail carrier do it. You're only supposed to do this if you trust them, right? I don't even trust the mail. I'm dropping my ballots off right directly at the ballot box. But Misty might trust me. You know, we're a couple, so she might hand me her ballot so I can put both of them in at the same time, and that's fine. Each person has their own envelope that they sign on the outside, and your signature is going to get compared. Um, and there's that level of security, but they don't require that people, you know, personally, every person return their ballot. Um, some people, the only option they have is to either mail it or have somebody else take it for them because they just cannot get that far away from their house. Badger says it sounds dodgy. Yeah, I want online voting and some way to like print out your vote and mail it in afterward, like just with like a business mail reply, just like hit print and then just like put it in the mail. But like a way that I could log in and see what I voted, and so I could have that check and balance on it. That's what I want. And I know people would say that, oh, well, online voting can be manipulated. No, I want easy access, and I want to be able to check my vote whenever I want to. Like, just look back at, how did I vote? And make sure that they didn't manipulate what they say that I voted, you know. Badger says 3. Does Clyde vote now? No, Misty's niece is here. Um, Spurgleberry Farm says masks are not mandatory. That's been the president's position. look at his rallies. Most people are wearing masks. No, 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 no. You can look at, let's say, the RNC when Trump was speaking from the White House lawn. Look at the crowd right there. They're not mostly wearing masks. Um, oh, Spurgleberry Farm says with online voting, you could change your mind on your vote and just keep changing your mind until it finalizes on November 3rd. That's a good point. You know, you could have your preliminary vote in, and then if you change your mind, you could go in and change something. That's good. Um, I made a video on how I was going to vote based on a sample ballot, and actually, after I did that sample ballot on a video, um, I heard about a judge that was on some people's ballots for certain regions that was particularly harsh on a certain type of individual. And that judge wasn't on my ballot, but it was on the sample ballot that I printed that was for the whole region. So I would have not known that until afterward when somebody else cued me in to this little controversy. So yeah, you could also have little things like that because we have voting to keep or remove our judges as well in Colorado. And Badger says, yeah, they could get hacked by the Moldovians at the last minute too. I'm saying uh, later on this month, I'm taking an exam that's going to be proctored over this same webcam. You know, um, how much security do you want on something? Because uh, it's possible, just like the president saying that regular paper ballots could be fucked with by foreign entities sending in a whole bunch of fake ballots. All they got to do is get their hands on one, and then they can, you know, figure out the code as far as what kind of ballot tracking numbers there are, and they could just send in a whole bunch of ballots with every number and hope that every number that wasn't returned, because you know more than half of us Americans don't vote. You know, all the numbers that weren't returned by somebody else wouldn't be questioned, and they'd just be considered real votes. Paper's not infallible either, you know. So when we came back from that commercial with Trump, I again realized how much airtime Savannah Guthrie was getting with Donald Trump versus all the other people that were there to ask questions. But he got a question about what is your plan to make healthcare cost less. Trump said we got rid of the individual mandate. We brought costs down. They had a website disaster, if you remember. We want much less expensive and better healthcare. That's what he said. It wasn't really a plan. It was just like goals, not the whole kit and caboodle as far as plans go. You got the goals down. So Savannah Guthrie talked about pre-existing conditions. He said, "You're fighting that in the Supreme Court right now." And then Trump said, "We would like to terminate the Affordable Care Act and replace it with something else. Pre-existing conditions will still be covered." Nobody believes this, that that's actually part of the plan. They think that he's lying, right? But it's not just the Democrats who think that he's lying about that. The Republicans want that, so they want him to be lying in this moment. But I'll say that Cory Gardner, who might very well lose in about 3 weeks, his seat, he tried to introduce legislation that would, uh, on its own, protect pre-existing conditions, regardless of a repeal of the ACA. So he's a Republican, and he's just trying to, you know, win his election by putting out some good legislation. So there's that. There is an alternative to uh, the ACA as far as still having pre-existing conditions covered. Somebody just introduced it as a bill that was standalone. So Badger says he's feeling very devil's advocate for this morning. That's fine. Um, so Savannah Guthrie read a question from somebody who wasn't there, but it wasn't directly from her, I guess. And she said, "Are we going to get a second standalone stimulus for the people? You know, a second round of $1,200 checks?" And Trump said, "Nancy Pelosi is evil." Basically, that's what he says. I can tell you that Trump did tweet before this event that if Nancy Pelosi were to just pass just a stimulus just for checks for people, standalone, he would sign it. And he's like been baiting her to just do that for the people, you know. And Savannah Guthrie was like, "Well, but you're the deal maker, right?" And then Trump was like, "Well, we're negotiating. You heard of negotiation, right?" And then Savannah Guthrie was like, "People are suffering." And then like there was this like long back and forth, and I still once again I was like, "Holy shit! This is supposed to be a town hall, and it's mostly Savannah Guthrie," which Biden did not have that same experience with George Stephanopoulos as his moderator. You know what I'm saying? It was a completely different experience for Trump than it was for Biden. And it was not a fair like town hall experience at all. Um, Trump got a question from the crowd about corporate taxes. Why do you want them lower? And Trump said more jobs. He said the reason why we're bouncing back so strong is because we built a good foundation. I give him points for that answer. I don't even know that it's true, but he keeps on saying that like the first 3 years of his administration were good. You know that part we all kind of understand that it's 2020 that sucks and the other years that didn't. And for him to say that like the reason why we're bouncing up, you know, so quickly as far as an economic recovery is because his first 3 years were good. I at least give him points for the answer. You know, it makes sense. It was coherent. I don't know that I believe it because I think that we have kind of a problem with stagnant wages in our country. You know, the stock market is just kind of a chart of rich people's feelings. It's not really the recovery. It's just the stock market's recovery. So, but I give him points for coherently answering the question. Um, Savannah Guthrie then turns it to, well, who do you owe $400 million to? And that's something from his tax returns. Um, his answer to that was, I have a small debt compared to my assets. I don't owe Russia any money. I don't, and no foreign banks that I know of. Whereas New York Times is calling it Deutsche Bank, but whatever. He said that no one in their right mind would release their information before they're done with an audit, you know, which it'll make sense to people who are fiscally prudent or people who have ever had to deal with the justice system, but it's not passing the sniff test as far as Savannah Guthrie or a lot of people in the country. Also, if you're under audit from the IRS, and he was like in 2016, if you're under audit from the IRS, maybe you're not a good political candidate. Just saying. Yeah, until your audit's over, maybe you shouldn't be running for stuff. But you know, I say he shouldn't be running, but he did win with everyone not getting his tax returns like every other president has given up. So what do I know? And so there was this long bit on Trump's taxes between him and Savannah Guthrie. I was like surprised that they weren't, involving more uh, audience members. And then they went to commercials, and the commercials on MSNBC were all about MSNBC programs that were very liberal leaning. So people who were tuning in to watch Trump were getting ads that had this liberal bent to them, which wasn't as bad on ABC. So there was that. Um, Spurgleberry Farm says, I heard George Stephanopoulos brought massage oils to the Biden town hall. Um, if anything, I wish he brought that spray paint for your hair, which like multiplies how many hairs you have. Because Biden had this the this horrible bald spot that I can't even I can't fake having a bald spot that bad, but like on the back of his head, where like Trump has like a comb over, right? Where everybody wonders like what is his actual hair dysfunction, but Biden's back of his head reminded me of an Indiana Jones movie where somebody had lost their youth magically for choosing the wrong cup. Okay, it was like Crypt Keeper style, and I was like, man, he needs to like get like some of that fake hairspray paint. Just nobody wants to see that. And I'm body shaming, right? But if you get to that point where your hair is that thin, maybe consider just shaving it all. Just Captain Picard. Have some dignity. Um, Badger says Trump checks for the win. You know, it does kind of seem like buying votes in a way, that the person who is in control of your stimulus checks could be, running for office, and so if he gets you more of them, then maybe you'll vote for him. And Spurgleberry Farm says on taxes, not a single person is called for closing the loopholes that he's used. Maybe because they use them also. Um, I think that Biden does call for closing some tax loopholes, and some of those tax loopholes came from, Trump's tax policy. So he's just going to repeal what Trump put in, and that's going to tax the top 2% of the country a little bit more. Terrence Hypno Nipple, welcome back. You say Biden should wear a Tim Pool beanie. Maybe everyone should just wear a Joe Rogan cap, you know. Um, Badger says that a second term prevents Trump from potentially ever trying again, so that's a good thing. Um, a guy who it took pulling teeth to get him to say that he would uh, accept a peaceful transfer of power. Maybe he'll just say, "Oh, maybe I should stick around for a third term." He's actually joked about it. Um, anyway, back from the commercials. There was a question. Somebody asked Trump 4 years ago. The Senate stalled on the Supreme Court nomination for Merrick Garland. And what do you say to voters who think that the Amy Coney Barrett situation is being rushed and that it's hypocritical? Trump said, "I'm using my 4 years as is my right. If they were in this position, they'd do the same thing. The ball game has changed now with how they treated Kavanaugh, which I know as a therapist I'm not supposed to. I'm not supposed to diagnose somebody just based on what I see of them on the television screen. But when someone says, but you hurt me in this other way, so now the rules have changed, that is a telltale sign of a certain sort of psychopathy. Right? The reason why I wasn't fair before this and after this is because this happened, which it doesn't even make sense, you know. But basically, him saying that the rules are now changed because you were wrong in this different way, it's reflective of a certain criteria of a certain psychopathy. So I'm just saying. Um, and also at that moment, Trump's hair seemed off a bit. He's actually been dyeing it gray. Like most people, when they think about Donald Trump, they think about his wild hair comb over thing, but also they put the color of it to be like orangish or yellowish on top of his orange face, right? Um, it's grayer. It's like a platinum gray, but also it just looked off at that point in the broadcast. It was off a bit. Um, he got a question: if Roe v. Wade gets overturned, what will you do to protect women whose life is threatened with their pregnancy? And Trump says he doesn't think Roe v. Wade will be an issue. Savannah Guthrie says, "What's your preference for what happens with Roe v. Wade?" And he says, "My preference is I'd like to see it looked at by a brilliant jurist," which is a complete dodge. She doesn't want to know that you want to see somebody else's preference. She wants to know what your personal preference is. Ugh. So that was, it was a dodge, but it was very politician like, and I'll give him at least he had his wits about him to employ the dodge. It's an obvious dodge, but you know, if I'm weighing who had more energy and was thinking more craftily through their town hall, Trump's anger towards Savannah Guthrie was very palpable, and he was answering questions very quickly. Um, I give him an edge there as far as ability through the night. Um, so Trump also said, "I don't want to do anything right now to influence the nomination process," which I guess he means like since they're like actively each day interviewing Amy Coney Barrett, if he said anything about like, "Well, I expect her to flip Roe v. Wade," then that would be used against her in her own nomination hearings. So he doesn't want to say anything about her from his pulpit at the town hall. So then he got a question from a high school teacher, and that teacher said, "What will you do about police brutality and injustice?" So then he says that Tim Scott's bill should have been approved. And this was something that I almost made a video about. A lot of people don't know about Tim Scott's bill, but basically everything the Democrats would have wanted for in reforming the police, but not calling it defunding the police, Tim Scott put forth in a bill, and Democrats voted against it. And it's like weird. It's like, well, they're giving you everything you want. And they're like, oh no, it's not enough. And plus, it comes from a Republican, so there's got to be a trick. But I'm like, that would have been a great thing to pass if Tim Scott's bill had passed and you guys are playing party politics. You know, who fucking cares if Republicans get a win as far as policy if they're doing exactly what the fuck you're wanting them to do? Take the fucking win. You know? So I agree with Trump's statement there that Tim Scott's bill should have been approved. Um, it was a great bill. He said, I've done more than any president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. I have a great relationship with the African American community. Um, and then the next person who gave the question is the person I gave the video clip of at the beginning of this show. Let's see. Badger, you didn't get to see this horrible, horrible moment in history, but I'm going to play it for you. You ready, Badger? Here we go. Now, this is the second time I'm playing it in this show, but it's worth playing. Okay, here we go.
Smile.
Thank you. Out of business opportunity zones. But he said it could because of what I've done.
He does. You're so handsome when you smile. Okay. As the daughter of immigrants to the United States who fled Eastern Europe due to religious persecution, I have to say you have a
Our next question, we have Paulette Dale. She leans slightly to Biden. She voted for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as a Republican. Paulette, what's your question?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
I have to say you have a great smile.
Thank you.
So, he does. You're so handsome when you smile. Okay. As the daughter of immigrants.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, Badger, they're one of the people asking questions. She was definitely thirsty for my president. She's potential stalker. She should be on an FBI watch list right now, with the way she was drooling over my president. So there's that. And her question was, do you want to end DACA, and what do you want to do about Dreamers? And Trump said, we built borders, strongest we ever had. We're working hard on DACA. People have to come in on merit. And yeah, it's really hard for people to come in on merit during the coronavirus lockdowns. But then Savannah Guthrie, she said, well, we only have 30 seconds left. So what do you want to say to undecided voters? And then Trump just said, a really good cheerleader ramble about his own accomplishments. It was well spoken. But then the stream ended with no commentary because it was on YouTube. I didn't see any of the after party sort of commentary that we had on ABC.com with Joe Biden. But I was really left feeling. This is my overall feeling from all of that was, why the fuck did the president agree to go to this hostile of a format with Savannah Guthrie? He pulled out of the debate saying, no, I don't accept going to this digital format where you guys can just shut me up with a button. No, I want to debate in person. So since he wouldn't do the digital debate, and he pulled out of that while he was still positive for coronavirus. Since he wouldn't do the digital debate, Biden said, well, I'm just going to use my time to do a town hall meeting, right? Then he really quickly sets up a town hall meeting at the exact same time that Joe Biden's running his. So basically, you have to watch one or the other, right? That was probably a good plan. It was a plan at least. But the part of the plan that just does not get me is like, why wouldn't you choose a a, a, a playing field that isn't hostile to you? Why are you going to go on MSNBC with Savannah fucking Guthrie? Any other network could get rebroadcast rights if he were to go to say OAN, that fucking pro-Trump all the time news station. He could have gotten Sean Hannity on Fox News, somebody from Fox who would have given him a good time. He decides to go on this stage with Savannah fucking Guthrie, who monopolized more than half of the time that he had in that hour-long town hall to give her questions to him herself from this shrewd, journalistic standpoint. It was not the same treatment that Biden got. You know, he does not have friends in the media. He keeps calling them fake media, and now they're fucking pissed at him. He should have made sure that he had a more friendly moderator on the stage. And, was it brave? Yes, in a way, kind of stupidly brave, but it just seemed like it wasn't so much of a town hall as Biden's was. It was more like, here I am to grill you. My name is Savannah. So, yeah, that was a thing. I actually my politics are against the presidents at this point, but I wish the Trump that was there answering those questions the way he did was at a town hall before the debates, where it wasn't a rally or anything like that. Like, even this town hall, it was a lot better than that first debate with Biden, where Trump just kept interrupting incessantly. Um, like, this sort of format actually, you know, it lets you hear each person. I think I appreciated the vice presidential debates because they kept to the rules a little bit better, the rules of the debate format. But also, I appreciate these town halls a little bit better than that crazy train shit show that was that first presidential debate. That's just my feelings on it. Principled Uncertainty came back. Thank you. Terrence Hypno Nipple says maybe he wanted to highlight that media hostility. I don't know. Apparently, I only have 0 concurrent viewers right now. But I know some of you are watching because you're typing in the chat. But, oh, now I have 7. Guys, I've been talking for 3.5 hours, and I think I need to get some sleep for tomorrow. I can smell pine in the air from the forest fires. It's probably going to be a hard night of sleep with all the smoke in the air. Probably going to set off my allergies. But I will promise you guys whatever happens with the third debate, if it happens, I'll watch it and give you my opinions. If it doesn't happen and it becomes 2 town halls, I'll watch 2 town halls and I'll give you my opinions. And other than that, I'm probably going to be a little bit absent, except for one good video that I'm making for election day. So take care. Eject the cassette tape from your tummy. I'm not fucking Teddy Ruxpin. Is that a joke about my beard? Fuck you. Fuck you, Terrence. When Trump wins, you can cry on my shoulder. Thank you, Principle of Uncertainty. You know, I don't trust any of the polls. After what happened with Hillary 4 years ago, you could be right. You know, and it could be that come the election day of November 3rd, we still don't get a definitive answer because some states will still be counting mail-in ballots. So, you know, I'm hoping for closure on November 3rd. I'm hoping. But, you know, even then, like, it could be a while before we actually know who won. And I remember this feeling. I'm old enough to know, you know, Bush v. Gore, you know, and know it in detail. And that was a really horrible time in my life. You know, I did need that shoulder to cry on. And if it happens again, it's already happened twice in my life where the person who won the popular vote did not win the election. If it happens again, I'm going to be upset. You know, land should not get votes. You know, we should give votes to people, not empty space. And anyways, leave some comments on this video afterwards, and maybe I'll get to them with my next video before I start talking about whatever happens, if there even is a debate. We'll know on Thursday night. And see you guys later.